With your abilities, you'll have a promising future in the city. Soon you'll become a high-ranking official and ride a fine. A man from the countryside was strongly urged by my fellow villagers to come to the city. According to them, with my talents, I would achieve great success and rapid advancement no matter what I did there. After all, I was a genius. And it wasn't wrong. Back in the village, I could operate a farming robot machine by myself, matching the work of 10 others using the same machines. What is a farming robot? You don't know what a farming robot is. It's a humanoid machine used for farming. It's about the height of a person. Inside, the operator can weed, plow, plant, and fertilize all at once. One such robot can easily cultivate 100 acres of fertile land in a single day. When I was 6 years old, I secretly took that machine out to play in the wilderness. But I saw the adults planting what they had just removed as weeds a few days earlier. I thought they must have lost their minds. My young heart decided to help them. So I drove the machine and quickly uprooted all those weeds that had been replanted. By the time the adults noticed, nearly 1,000 acres of land had been cleared clean. Seeing the scene, the adults were very excited. A 6-year-old child operating a farming robot to clear weeds. Such a genius was rare, if not unique, in the entire galaxy. At that moment, my father was the first to start clapping. Some people nearby tried to persuade him to stop. I just stood there silently staring at my father's palm. I was very puzzled. Was my father so overjoyed that he kept landing his palm on my bottom? Later, when I grew a bit older, after helping the stingy innkeeper in the village with a big favor, I finally earned the title Genius, Born Fool. Similar incidents happened several more times. Actually, not many, just a dozen or so times, definitely less. The villagers finally recognized my uniqueness. I never really intended to show off through those incidents. I just enjoyed seeing their stunned expressions, their faces caught between tears and laughter. So the villagers decided to stop burying talent. After obtaining my family's consent, the villagers saw me off onto a cargo spaceship from the big city. Reluctantly, I began my interstellar journey. The luxury and beauty of the big city far exceeded what I had imagined from the picture books of my childhood. The people here were also incredibly warm. Within a few days, my heavy luggage, including the money in my pockets, had been kindly carried away by some helpful souls, disappearing without a trace. Walking on the cold, deserted street, I huddled my body as much as possible to prevent heat from escaping with the chilly wind. I had been wandering among the countless towering buildings for 2 days and nights. My empty stomach had driven away all sleep with its unbearable hunger. If I couldn't find a job soon, I might starve to death on the street. But even washing dishes required experience here. No experience, no job. Strange. Did those people also prefer experienced wives? I had washed many dishes at home, but did that count as experience? Suddenly my eyes were drawn to a huge recruitment sign. All citizens aged 18 and above, physically and mentally healthy, are welcome to sign up. Guaranteed employment with excellent benefits. Guaranteed employment. I rubbed my eyes to make sure I wasn't mistaken. Could such a good thing be true? Half believing, I followed the arrows on the sign and soon found the place, Imperial Recruitment Office, Woyomo City. Next, the efficiency of the Imperial military was indeed impressive. In just over a minute, the dozen people in front of me had already completed their enlistment procedures. Name. Behind a wide desk, the officer with 1 bar and 1 star on his shoulder didn't even lift his eyes. Dugu Zhan. Gender. Strange. Couldn't this guy tell I was a man? Or did city people have different gender distinctions from us villagers? No way. I instinctively touched my crotch. Gender. I've got the goods. What? The one Aranester officer looked up at me in confusion, as if I was a monster. Fortunately, she caught on quickly. I'm asking if you're male or female. Damn, isn't it obvious? Can't you see? You? I think you're either a hermaphrodite or a neuter. A male. You could have said that earlier. In the following QA, I dared not act out of line. I answered whatever was asked. After the interview, I received a nameplate, then a physical exam. With my physique, everything was naturally perfect, all OS. Then I arrived at the new recruit assignment office. What are your specialties? A man with 2 bars and 1 star on his shoulder looked me up and down and asked. Specialties? I can do anything, especially driving those things. Through the wide floor-to-ceiling window of the assignment office, you could see a large flat space with several humanoid machines parked. Oh really? What level is your driver's license? Driver's license. What's that? You don't have a license? No. Do you have a weapon operations certification? No. Radar operations certification? No. Medical care certification? No. No. Antig? No. Then what certifications do you have? I don't have any certification. Then why did you say you could do anything? Impatiently, the Tuberanester officer made a big cross on the technical skills column of my new recruit assignment form. Sir, this is the new recruit assignment office. You can't go in. Please wait in the lounge. A sergeant receptionist tried to stop an officer who was trying to barge into the assignment office. The rule of the new recruit assignment office was that non-staff could not enter to prevent officers from using their authority to influence normal assignments. Wait, I've been waiting here for almost a week and I haven't even gotten a single piece of trash assigned to me. My squad is going on a mission in 2 hours, and I still have over a dozen vacancies to fill. The officer was getting anxious. Who's that? Making all that noise out there? The already irritated Tuberonester officer got up and came to the door. Fox, your temper has grown over the past few days. Where are the personnel you promised to supplement to me? The officer outside the door stopped bothering with the sergeant upon seeing someone in charge. Ah, Captain Locke. Haha, what perfect timing. I just got a new batch of recruits. But you know the higher-ups have to prioritize replenishing the frontline combat units, so I can only assign one to you for now. The Tuberonester officer Fox immediately put on a friendly expression. One is useless. I need at least 10 more people. Captain Locke said discontentedly. This one is a genius, you know. Not only is he highly capable, but his skills are also outstanding. If you don't take him, don't blame me if someone else snatches him up. Fox shrugged helplessly. What the hell? Fine. Something is better than nothing. What's the guy's name? Locke asked in a bad mood. Oh, Dugu Zhan. Fox quickly glanced at the name on the new recruit assignment form and hey, don't drag me. I have legs and can walk by myself. Being dragged around like a sack would make anyone unhappy, especially when the man doing the dragging was a lean fellow about my height. In his hands, my 170 centimeters, overweight body felt weightless. But if I wanted to, I could probably crush him with my weight. If a pretty girl were involved, I might consider it. Walk faster. We have 1 hour. If we can't reach the Heilong Star 473220 kilometers away in 1 hour, we'll both be court-martialed. Captain Locke didn't hesitate. He dragged the new recruit behind him, jumped into a flying car, and sped straight to Pier 16 of the spaceport. The two of them disappeared into the distance like a gust of wind, leaving the taxi driver staring as a single federal currency coin completed its arc in the air and landed on the soft seat beside the driver. Right? It's a federal hard currency, a federal gold coin. This time he made a profit. The taxi driver, satisfied, put the coin with the bite mark into his pocket. As the war continued, the imperial currency often depreciated. In contrast, the federal gold coin as a hard currency was quite popular, even though it was the enemy's currency. Phew. Finally made it. Luo Ku breathed a sigh of relief after boarding the 80 of Firebird-class interstellar assault ship. Huh. Luo Ku, if you were any later, I wouldn't have waited for you. Captain Huamu, who had been anxiously waiting on the deck, saw his old friend Lieutenant Luo Ku dragging back a somewhat chubby kid in a flustered manner and couldn't help asking, is this little fatty the recruit assigned to you? Yes. Why don't you hurry and depart? Any later, and he'll be late. Luo Ku finally released his tightly clenched hand. Don't worry, we'll be early, not late. You two go to the lounge, and rest. They'll call you when we arrive. Huamu said as he headed toward the bridge. Thanks. Wake up, we're here. The sting on my face pulled me. We're here. I stood up and stretched. Looking around, I was still in the same lounge. How could we have arrived? The hatch creaked open, and a head wearing a wide-brimmed hat poked in. Luo Ku, we've arrived at the outskirts of Heidalong. Half an hour left. Do you want me to send someone to escort you down? Captain Huamu asked. No need, you have other tasks to complete. We'll just take a life pod down. Lieutenant Luo Ku declined Captain Huamu's kindness. The life pod, with the help of retro rockets, landed intact on the surface of Heidalong. Luo Ku kicked off the slightly heat-deformed hatch and jumped out. Based on past experience, recruits experiencing their first extreme freefall were invariably unconscious. Luo Ku was about to help the new recruit out of the life pod when he saw the chubby kid wobbling out on his own. I climbed out of the pod and struggled to stand. That had really scared me. That insane guy only activated the decelerator at 500 meters above ground, nearly costing me my poor, lovable, handsome, excellent, incomparable young life. I crouched down, almost kissing the ground several times. The solid and vast earth was truly adorable. I spat on the ground and silently vowed never to take a life pod again, at least not in the same one as that Lieutenant Luo Ku. Upon arrival, Lieutenant Luo Ku seemed less anxious. He took out a cigarette from his pocket, lit it, and began smoking leisurely. In a war zone, an unidentified falling object usually attracts the attention of military police. To avoid unnecessary trouble, although they had already notified beforehand, they still needed to make some arrangements. After just 2 puffs, he saw dust rising in the distance. Soon a military police armored ground effect patrol craft approached, and a military policeman stepped out. Luo Ku, back so early. What good stuff did you bring? The military policeman called out, eyes sparkling. Longxing dry tobacco. Luo Ku somehow pulled a backpack from the life pod, took out 2 rectangular packages, and tossed them into the military policeman's arms. Fragrant. Strong stuff. Hey, who's this kid? The military policeman sniffed the packages vigorously, then jerked his chin toward me, who was crouching nearby. New recruit from my squad. By the way, I'm in a hurry. Give me a ride. Luo Ku slung the backpack over his shoulder and used his free hand to lift me off the ground. No problem, get on. The military policeman invited Lieutenant Luo Ku onto the patrol craft. The patrol craft crested a small hill, and my eyes were immediately drawn to a long line of train cars ahead. Weren't those railway train cars? I never expected to see such antiques in a place like this. That's not a train. It's a magnetic energy strategic transport train called a maglev train. It's the standard equipment of the 19th Army Group's 7th Strategic Transport Battalion, the Chungyun. Isn't it beautiful? Lieutenant Luo could gaze tenderly at the sleek, streamlined body of the train. Indeed, upon closer inspection, the shape of the cars was very different from ordinary train cars. Not only were there semicircular protrusions at the four corners, but there were no wheels visible underneath. The military police patrol craft set us down beside the train and turned back. Before the dust raised by the craft had settled, a man jumped out from a car near the front and came to greet us. "Lieutenant, you're finally back. Where's the new recruit for us?" The newcomer was a bit surprised to see only two. "Chief, this is Dugu Zhan, a genius worth 10 men. What's going on?" Luo could briefly introduce me, who was following behind, then pointed at the rear cars of the train. "It's orders from above. The Anchier front is in dire need, so we have to transport 5 extra cars of reinforcements." The man's face showed a troubled expression. The general agreed. Yes, he agreed, saying it's all for the front. He said a little sacrifice on his part is only proper. But he's not willing to postpone his inspection tour, so here we are. What the hell? Does he know that a magnetic energy train with more than 10 cars faces a much higher chance of being attacked? Damn it, those bastards must want to use us as shields again. "Lieutenant, we depart in 2 minutes. Take the new recruit to the dining car to wash dishes. Free up 2 service robots, install advanced maintenance programs on them, pull 2 people from the maintenance crew, 1 to reinforce the entire squad, and the other as a mobile reserve. Hope this trip goes smoothly, and we don't encounter any federal air hunters. All right, get on board. Prepare to depart." The struggle between the Empire and the Federation on Haidalong had been a seesaw battle, with the war in a stalemate. The Empire continuously sent reinforcements through convenient space lanes, but Haidalong, as the Federation's strategic stronghold in the Heide system, had been painstakingly fortified by the Federation forces for years, who maintained relative air superiority over the planet. The Imperial Army was thus constrained, fighting bitterly on Haidalong for half a year before capturing only 1/3 of the land area. To hasten the occupation of Haidalong, the Imperial Emperor dispatched his own younger brother, Prince Lanster, to inspect the front lines, boost morale, and push the war effort. "Hurry up, there are 10 barrels of potatoes to peel." "What? How can there be 10 more? Isn't it enough to have 10 barrels a day?" Looking at the mountain of potatoes before me, I nearly jumped up. After 3 days of travel, the train arrived safely at the Anchier front. I had become the recruit who had eliminated the most enemies in 3 days. Over 10,000 potatoes peeled by me. Because of my outstanding performance, the chief had transferred 4 more service robots from the dining car. "The prince is hosting a banquet here today for all officers above platoon level on the Anchier front, so we need to prepare more supplies, especially potatoes. It's now 3 in the afternoon. You'd better finish by 6 in the evening." Chef Sangsong, feeling sorry for me, explained patiently. "Gur. Got it," I muttered, quickly peeling a potato and tossing it into a nearby basket. In the Federal Anchier City Defense Headquarters, General Oid looked at the intelligence on his desk. "Target has arrived, preparing to hold a large outdoor banquet." This was a very tempting piece of intelligence. If true, it would be a perfect opportunity to turn the tide of the Anchier front. However, Oid scanned the generals waiting before him for orders. "Hold the line, no attacks." With a slap, Colonel Kanaisi threw his officer's hat heavily onto the ground, startling the nearby guard. "Hold the line, no attacks. Damn it, I've been stuck in this tiny patch of land until I've grown mold. Finally a chance to turn defense into offense, and still we have to hold." Colonel Kanaisi was the commander of the Federation's elite ground assault unit, the Nighthawk Brigade. He had always been resentful of having his mobile offensive force assigned to defensive trench warfare. "Colonel, I think the general made this decision with long-term strategy in mind." Major Ag, the Nighthawk Brigade staff officer, bent down to pick up the hat, brushing off the dust. "Long-term strategy. I think the old man is just afraid and conservative. Hayrei's a perfect chance for a counterattack, and he's letting it slip away. I can't stand it." Ag contact the general again and request a sortie. That intelligence had cost several Nighthawk scouts their lives. Kanaisi was not about to waste it. However, the request was denied again. The Imperial Prince Lanster dared to gather all officers above platoon level in this place. A surprise raid could wipe them out in one fell swoop, disrupting the Empire's ground command on the Anchier front and seizing the initiative. If used properly, such a golden opportunity could completely reverse the Federation's strategic disadvantage and drive the Empire off Haidalong. As the Nighthawks strategist, Ag fully understood Colonel Kanaisi's feelings. He had also drawn up several plans after receiving the intelligence, but now they were all scrapped. However, "Ag, why don't we do it ourselves?" Just as Ag was hesitating, Kanaisi spoke. "That's not good. The old man did it for caution. If we act without authorization, it's fine. We won't send a large force, just a small team, to raid the banquet site. If it succeeds, the old man won't have anything to say. If it fails, we can retreat. Even if we can't, losing one squad won't endanger the line." If the old man finds out, he'll take the heat. Worst case, I resign. And knowing his temper, hell, just yell a bit. What do you think? Kanaisi interrupted Ag. Seeing the glint in Kanaisi's eyes, Ag knew he had made up his mind. And Ag also thought the plan was feasible. One of his previous plans had a similar design. This decision is ours. Whatever happens, we'll share the responsibility. Ag smiled and handed the cleaned hat to Kanaisi. Huh, I knew you wouldn't object. Let's prepare a surprise gift for His Highness the Prince. Kanaisi laughed heartily, took the hat, and put it back on. The banquet, filled with the clinking of glasses, was held outdoors. After a day of peeling potatoes, I wobbled my corpulent body, striving to balance the tray in my hand, as I moved as nimbly as possible through the crowd. Fortunately, the banquet was a buffet, so I only needed to serve drinks instead of dishes. Otherwise, I, the sole human waiter, would have been worked to death. Gazing at the crowd donning uniforms with various stripes and insignias on their shoulders, I couldn't help but wonder, was this a battlefield? Was war really like this? Yet I had heard that war claimed countless lives. How utterly baffling. I maneuvered my tray past a robotic waiter heading toward a group of people who were frantically waving at me for drinks. Just as I approached, a deafening roar erupted in my ears. The distant thunder did not disrupt the banquet's proceedings, but I nearly dropped my tray. The banquet ended only when the sky began to lighten. As I labored to wash a mountain of dishes that could fill 2 train cars, an even denser rumbling echoed from afar, this time far less jarring than the previous one. Yet it persisted for an excruciatingly long time, keeping me utterly exhausted after finishing all the chores, wide awake for hours. Accustomed to the tranquility of the countryside, I found sleep impossible. In a daze, I suddenly heard footsteps approaching with deliberate calm. Then came a clatter, as if a pile of something had been placed beside my bed. I struggled to open my bleary eyes. Ajahn, I thought you were asleep. It was Chef Sangsong. I can't sleep. What are these? I asked, staring at the heap beside my bed. These are your personal combat equipment, Sangsong replied. Personal combat equipment. Countless question marks floated above my head. Personal combat equipment. What is that? You can't be serious. You don't know what personal combat equipment is. Haven't you undergone basic military training? Sangsong's expression looked as if he had seen a prehistoric dinosaur. Military training. No one told me about it. As soon as I arrived at that place, whatever it was called, I was led straight here. I scratched my head to clear my mind. You came directly from the recruitment office. I suppose. Damn kid, I don't know what to say. Since you can't sleep anyway, come with me. I'll teach you how to use this gear. Oh, okay. In a clearing among the trees, I clumsily followed Sangsong's instructions, fumbling through the pile of equipment to find the multi-protection suit and put it on. Kid, you've got it on backward. Before I finished, Sangsong interjected. Backward? Shouldn't the flat side be in front and the one with the big pocket be on the back? The pocket goes in front because it can hold simple auxiliary tools and small devices. Having it on the back would make it very inconvenient to access. Sangsong explained matter-of-factly, helping me read on the suit correctly. The multi-protection suit with the pocket in front looked utterly awkward to me. I couldn't imagine what a figure I'd cut with my already plump frame stuffing the front pocket full of items, probably resembling those pregnant women I'd seen back in the village. Old Sang, I thought I saw some people wearing the pocket side on the back. Though I had spent only a few days peeling potatoes on the truck, my eyes hadn't been idle. I had seen quite a few things whenever I had the chance. Oh, those people are different from you. You don't need to wear it that way. Next, we add the armor plating. First, put on the armored vest, then the wrist guards, elbow pads, leg guards, and knee pads. Piece by piece, the equipment was attached to my body. Before long, I looked almost like a warrior from ancient times. I took a couple of steps feeling the gear. It was all loose and rattling. In this state, even walking was a struggle, let alone fighting. Hey kid, don't be impatient. You have to put this on first. Sangsong clamped a full-face helmet onto my... The moment the helmet was on, a faint hum filled my ears, and the multi-protection suit and attached armor plates instantly became sleek and form-fitting. Hey, how does that work? I asked in astonishment. The equipment has an auto-adjustment system controlled through the personal main computer in the helmet. Nice. But what if it breaks in battle? I asked, a bit worried after my initial excitement. Break? If that thing breaks, you basically won't need it anymore. Won't need it? What do you mean? Do you think dead people still use this stuff? Oh, but what if? If that happens, it's fine. The system locks itself after adjustment. If it's damaged, it stays locked. To readjust the equipment, you can do it manually. Sangsong effortlessly detached a piece of armor from my body. That's more like it. What are those? These are weapons. This is a combat blade. It's useful for chopping trees or digging holes in the wild, but on the battlefield, cutting people with it is basically useless, unless you have extraordinary arm strength to pierce through the enemy's multi-protection suit. Usually for close combat, everyone prefers the DLA-10 Thunderbolt gun. Its effective range is 1,000 meters, and within that range it can easily penetrate 100 millimeters of composite armor. If you're hit in your current gear, don't worry, it won't leave a blood hole in you. The projectile, after passing through your body, will be deflected by your armor and tissue and eventually bounce back when it tries to exit, typically leaving 2 or 3 bloody holes. Damn, is it that terrifying? Then what's the point of wearing this protection? I looked at the palm-sized handle attached to a half-foot-long metal tube. Could it really be that powerful? I was deeply skeptical. If you don't want to be taken out from 1,000 meters away, you'd better wear this. The DLA-10 Thunderbolt gun is compact and easy to carry, making it one of the best close-range weapons. Then there's this, the fragmentation grenade. It can incapacitate a group of people in a short time, throwing them into chaos. If you're lucky and the enemy isn't wearing protection, you've hit the jackpot. That doesn't happen often, usually during ambushes, unless you run into a bunch of madmen. Enough digression. First, get familiar with the DLA-10. It's your lifeline. I took the Thunderbolt gun from Sang Song's hands. It was surprisingly heavy. How do I use this? First, insert this battery. This is a magazine holding 69mm rounds. He slid a metal battery plate into the slot, then guided my hand to push a magazine into the chamber. Is that all? The DLA-10 in my hand had become noticeably heavier. I figured I could probably kill someone just by throwing it. There's one more thing. You need to turn on the output switch to fire. This thing. Impatient, I spotted a knob on the rear of the half-foot-long metal tube. I flicked it with my thumb. Click, click, click. 3 quick turns to the maximum, then raised the gun and pulled the trigger at the treetops of a distant tree. Back in my village, I was renowned as a crack shot. Anything that flew in the sky or ran on the ground. If I aimed at it, I never missed. Eventually, I found those targets too easy and lacking in challenge, so I switched to shooting leaves. It might sound simple, but it wasn't about picking any leaf on the tree. I had to hit the stem without damaging the leaf itself. My favorite was shooting leaves on a windy day, watching them drift down in the breeze, like snowfall. The villagers gave me a nickname, Madman. Later, I read in an old book that people who could shoot leaves like that were called marksmen, who can hit a willow leaf at 100 paces. But they used a thing called a bow, while I used a slingshot made from a rubber band. So I was confident that even if I missed, I wouldn't be far off. However, with a deafening bang, the sudden recoil nearly sent me flying. Fortunately, my heavy body allowed me to take 2 steps back and steady myself. Only then did I hear Chef Sang Song's warning belatedly. Careful. Are you okay? I asked with concern, seeing Sang Song covering his ears and shrinking his neck, his face pale. I'm fine. Hey kid, are you alright? Did the recoil hurt you anywhere? I don't think so. Where did my shot go? Sang Song stared at me as if I were a monster, then pointed upward and said it went sky high. Are you really okay? Then why haven't you put your hands down? Put my hands down. Ouch, my hands are numb. I then realized that my hands, still gripping the DLA-10, were raised high above my head. Let me check if you've hurt your hand bones. What's that? Sang Song was about to examine me when a piercing screech came from high above. A sudden aircraft trailing smoke spiraled down and crashed into the ground not far away, exploding into a fireball. In just 2 minutes, they would enter the attack position of the Shadowcraft. This was the 7th sortie in the past 6 months for the Shadow Assault Squadron of the Angel Defense Line. The previous 6 sorties had without exception shattered the Empire's attempts to breach the Angel Defense Line. This was the 2nd time in a month that the Angel Defense Line had been breached. This was not a good omen. How could those idiots at the Army Department have defended it? Sea Shadow 1, watch your rear. A sudden shout from the earphones startled the pilot of Sea Shadow 1, who was lost in thought. Although he did not know what to watch out for, driven by long-term experience, the pilot unhesitatingly stomped on the control pedal to perform an evasive maneuver. However, a jolt from the tail sent the Shadowcraft out of control. On November 2nd, Imperial Year 331, the Empire breached the long impregnable Angel Defense Line and successfully curbed the Federation's counterattack, securing their gains. The Federation's counterattack should not have failed, but unfortunately the stealth aircraft that had just entered its concealed attack position was discovered by the Empire and shot down, turning the perfect counterattack plan into a bubble. With the crash of Sea Shadow 1, the Empire's anti-stealth radar immediately activated, fully sweeping across the area where the Shadowcraft had appeared. Normally, these radars were not turned on except for a few on duty because their detection waves interfered with the accuracy of conventional radar. The Shadowcraft group locked by radar would need at least 30 more seconds to reach attack position. Who shot down the first one? Prince Lanster raised his binoculars, watching the exploding fireballs in the sky, and asked his attendant. Your Highness, it was a new recruit Underwool. He was training with personal equipment and mishandled his weapon, accidentally hitting it. I will have him confined to quarters immediately. The adjutant standing beside replied. Confined to quarters? Prince Lanster said with slight surprise. Yes, Your Highness. Such improper use of weapons must result in confinement, otherwise someday it might bring us unnecessary losses. Today that lad was lucky enough to shoot down an enemy fighter, but another day he might shoot down one of our own. The adjutant quickly explained. Ha, that's true. But I still want to reward him properly. So let the confinement stand, but after it's over, issue him a bronze medal and promote him to non-commissioned officer. The army could use more lucky fellows like him. It would make fighting easier. After all, because of him, our gains from last night were preserved, and we eliminated the Federation's ace stealth fighter. Hadelong Star is ours. The first wave of anti-aircraft fire turned at least a third of the shadowcraft into fireworks in the sky. Without stealth cover, the shadowcraft were perfect aerial targets. At that moment, the shadowcraft began launching various onboard weapons, trying to lighten their load and improve maneuverability. For a time, the sky was filled with a dense hail of bullets interspersed with fleeting energy beams, creating a lively spectacle. Most of the falling bullets missed their mark, causing only minor damage to Imperial ground personnel and equipment, while the rest blasted trees and rocks. General, the 7th Shadow Brigade was discovered by the enemy before reaching the attack position and came under heavy anti-aircraft fire. The adjutant placed the latest report before Admiral Oid. Retreat, order them to retreat. The sudden bad news threw Admiral Oid into a bit of disarray. What are the losses? The 7th Shadow Brigade was completely annihilated. How did they expose their target? Unclear, but information from one shadowcraft indicated that the Empire scored a first hit on the lead aircraft without guidance from anti-stealth radar. The adjutant said uncertainly. A first hit on a stealth shadowcraft without guidance. What kind of weapon is that? Although stealth shadowcraft were not fast, it was impossible to score a first hit without radar guidance unless it was a blind cat catching a dead mouse. Could it be that simple? That would be two. Another possibility was that the Empire had developed an effective weapon to suppress shadowcraft, but why had no intelligence about this been reported back? Admiral Oid desperately wanted a reasonable explanation. Technical analysis is underway. I believe it is highly likely that the Empire has developed a new weapon. The adjutant voiced his judgment. Is that so? We'll discuss this later. For now, order all units defending the outer perimeter to immediately abandon their positions and converge on Angel City. In 10 hours, issue a formal retreat order for the entire army to fall back to the Aoyai region. Before retreating, the intelligence department must immediately find a way to ascertain the specifics of the new weapon. If that's not possible, at least formulate a countermeasure plan. I don't want future defensive operations to be affected by it. Abandoning the Angel front was the decision Admiral Oid least wanted to make, but under the current circumstances, maintaining this already leaky defense line would only cause greater losses. Rather than let the Empire nibble away his forces bit by bit, it was better to leave now. With the remaining strength, they could still bog down the Empire's massive planetary invasion force on Hadalong Star for a year or so. Tying down the Empire's ground forces would also tie down the logistics of the Empire's formidable space fleet. If the supply lines of the Empire's space fleet encountered problems, the Federation's fleet would have an opportunity. Alas, I hope the Federation's space fleet will have good luck, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. Once the Empire seizes Hadalong, they could arbitrarily launch harassment raids and attacks on the Federation's rear. Yes, General. The adjutant accepted the order and hurriedly left. What's wrong with him? In a medical vehicle, a female military doctor who looked pure and beautiful saw the mess chef Sang Song leading in a chubby young man with both hands raised high and could not help asking with some curiosity. A new recruit mishandled his weapon and injured his hands. Can you please take a look at him? Sang Song explained with an apologetic smile. What idiot is this? The female military doctor, named Yunya, looked over the new recruit from head to toe. He was a chubby fellow with a full, prosperous face, red-rimmed eyes, and a sorrowful expression. She guessed he was the son of some wealthy family with money, but no power, sent to the army to serve 2 or 3 years before retiring, then finding a way to secure an official position to avoid public criticism. In the Empire, it was quite common and normal to hire retired military personnel as civil officials. But hiring an ordinary civilian as a civil official was absolutely impossible without certain solid achievements or connections. Even if they did get the position, they would immediately attract an investigation by the Imperial Inspection Bureau to see if there was any improper transaction behind it. Imperial law: bribe givers forfeit all property, bribe takers receive the death penalty, publicly displayed i.e., dismembered and exhibited as a warning to others. Those who fail in supervision are dismissed and permanently barred from office. Those who err in supervision are executed. The above laws may be mitigated for those serving the Empire, whether active or retired military personnel. Yunya had seen many soldiers injured by improper weapon use, but never one so exaggerated. It seemed he had even cried. Really, how did the army let someone like this in? No wonder the war was always losing. Captain Locke recruited him. He's a genius. Sang Song joked, ignoring Yunya's remark. My name is Dugu Zhan. Could you first take a look at my eyes, and then help me get these hands down? Seeing the beautiful woman staring at me, I awkwardly grinned, showing a frozen smile. Oh, no problem. Your eyes are fine. Getting these hands down is easy. Just 2 gentle moves like this. Yunya's goosebumps fell all over the floor. She shuddered, suppressing her disgust. As a doctor, she couldn't ignore a patient even if the person before her seemed no better than trash in her eyes. Yunya averted her gaze, reached out, grabbed the chubby man's arms, and with 2 crisp crack sounds brought his raised hands down. SSS. SSS. The sudden movement caused intense pain, and I gasped. Dr. Yun, what are you? Even Sang Song was startled. Although he knew this seemingly gentle girl had a fiery temper, she never vented her anger on unrelated people, especially wounded soldiers. What was wrong with her today? She almost roughly forced the chubby man's injured hands down. God bless. He hoped those hands wouldn't be ruined. There was still half a truckload of potatoes to peel. It's nothing serious, just a muscle strain. He'll prescribe some medicine, I'll apply it a few times, and he'll be fine. Xiao Fei get some trauma medicine. Don't let him do any manual work for the next couple of days. He can run errands. All right, you can leave now. Yenya called for a nurse to bring several bottles of medicine, shoved them into Sang Song's hands, and then gave them the dismissal order. Hey, you haven't properly examined my eyes yet. Please take a good look-see. Ouch. Look at your head. Stop bothering Dr. Yun. Let's go back. Sang Song ignored my shouts, grabbed me, and pushed me out of the medical room door. Hey, I got sand in my eyes, it's really uncomfortable. Is that so? When we get back, I'll rinse them with water. That should be fine. You? Never mind, I'll figure it out myself. Senior, why are the girls here so fierce? I don't think I offended her. Are you sure you didn't offend her? No way. I only met her today for the first time. How could I have offended her? That's true. Could it be something you said earlier that made her misunderstand? Damn, I only said one sentence just now. Alright, don't dwell on it. Let me give you a tip, get on good terms with Dr. Yun from now on. When you have time, invite her for tea and give her small gifts like Southern curios or family treasures. That will increase your goodwill rating and improve this tense relationship. Otherwise, you'll suffer later. That girl's medical skills are top-notch, but her methods of torturing people are also. If you ever get sick or injured, Dr. Yun will certainly cure you, but the process will likely be unforgettable for you. Take care of yourself, lad. No, it can't be that terrifying, right? The experience with my hands today was already etched in my bones. And there would be a next time. I silently prayed that I would never get injured or sick in the future, otherwise, even if I had 100 lives, they wouldn't be enough to be put through that. Why is the vehicle commander coming over here? He's not coming to trouble you too, is he? On November 3rd, Imperial Year 331, the Imperial Army fully occupied Angel City, which had been abandoned by the Federation. Upon reconfirming the progress of the war through communication, Prince Lancy furrowed his brows deeply. Although they had seized the strategic city of Angel on the planet Hylong, they had failed to eliminate the effective strength of the Federation's Hylong defense forces. The battle for control would still be a long and arduous one. Though the overall situation was settled, achieving final victory would still require considerable cost and time. Moreover, the enemy commander still had a trump card yet to be played, the Federation's Special Operations Team. Thinking of the Special Forces, the prince suddenly had a thought. The Empire also had its own Special Forces, but suitable candidates were too few. Louder, go and invite the train chief to come here. Actually, forget it, I'll go myself. Accompanied by 2 attendants, Prince Lancy stepped out of his private carriage. After passing through several compartments, as soon as he entered the dining car, Prince Lancy spotted the train chief of the Firecloud strategic train sitting at the bar chatting with a female officer. Chief, where do you have a moment? I need to talk to you about something. Your Highness, why have you come personally? You could have just sent for me. This is Lieutenant Yunya, the medical officer. Wei quickly left the bar, stood at attention, and saluted. The female officer glanced at the marshal's insignia on the prince's shoulder before rising and returning the salute. No need to be so formal. Let's talk over there. Lieutenant Yunya, I apologize for taking up a few minutes of Major Whiter's time. I hope you don't mind. Prince Lancy said, leading Wei aside. Your Highness, you are too kind. I don't mind at all. The female officer returned to the bar and continued sipping her drink. How is that new recruit doing now? New recruit? Oh, he's still in confinement. His injuries are nothing serious. Good. I have a suggestion if you can accept it, Chief. Please speak, Your Highness. I'll do whatever I can. I want that new recruit of yours to enroll in the Cater Military Academy. This? Before Wei could answer, he was interrupted. Cough, cough. It seemed Yunya had accidentally choked on her drink. Lieutenant Yun, are you all right? Do you have any objections to what I said? Speak freely, I am open to advice. Cough. Since Your Highness wishes to hear my opinion, I shall speak. But first, may I ask a few questions? Please go ahead. Why does Your Highness want that new recruit? I believe you know the admission requirements of the Cater Military Academy better than we do. Of course I do. And Lieutenant Yunya should also know why the Angel City defense line, which had been so hard to breach, fell in just 2 days. I know. Because yesterday we successfully eliminated the Federation's counterattack ace, the Shadow Squadron. Indeed. And do you know who shot down the first Shadow stealth unit without radar guidance? It couldn't be that new recruit, could it? Yes, it was him. His luck is extraordinary. Luck? Even if he is lucky, that alone doesn't warrant sending him to the Cater Military Academy. There are many others more capable than him. You should spend your time on them instead. Besides, his physique makes it hard for him to become a cadet. Physique? Follow me. After you see him, I hope you'll give up the idea. Is that the kid, Oi? Yes. How can he be so fat? But I don't think that means anything. Without some special ability, it's impossible to fire the DLA-10 at full power and come out unscathed. The recoil is like hitting a speeding truck. Even specially trained special forces soldiers can barely withstand it. You said it yourself, he was just lucky. Maybe a coincidence prevented him from getting more seriously injured. But his hands are still immobile, aren't they? If you insist on sending him, you'll regret this decision later. It can't be that serious. It will be worse. Lieutenant Yun, I apologize, Your Highness. My subordinate has been rude. Please forgive her. I don't oppose Dugu Zhan going to the Cater Military Academy, but since we don't know him well enough, could we first conduct an assessment? Seeing Yunya arguing heatedly with the prince who held a marshal's rank, Weir quickly stepped in to mediate. Though the prince was known for his approachability, he was still a person of high status. Alright, let's decide that way. Haha, it's been a pleasure talking with you both, especially you, Miss Yunya. May I buy you a drink? I'm sorry, my break time is over. I can't stay. Goodbye. Without looking back, Yunya left, leaving the elegant Prince Lancy standing there awkwardly. Alright, start from 50 energy. Fire. My happy confinement life ended abruptly, and I was told that Prince Lancy himself would test my personal combat skills. That scared me. In my impression, anyone with a title like Prince must be someone very important. But for a nobody like me, being noticed by a big shot never meant anything good. I remembered back in the village there were plenty of important people who took an interest in me. Of course they couldn't compare with this prince, but even so they caused me a lot of trouble. This time would be even worse. Listening to the training officer's commands on the temporary shooting range, I carefully adjusted the power output of the LDA-10 to half. I aimed at a stone beside the paper target that I had long disliked and pulled the trigger. Fire complete. Accuracy 0. The training officer reported the result after I emptied the magazine, then continued. Energy 80. It seemed he didn't care about my accuracy. So be it. With a loud bang, the LDA-10 was knocked out of my hands, smashing hard against my forehead and sending me sprawling to the ground. Fortunately, the stray bullet didn't hit anyone, but my hands, which had just healed, were now followed by a large lump. Prince Lance's face turned pale as he watched the embarrassing scene. That kid Dugu Zhan was an utter failure. Had he really misjudged him? Your Highness. Conductor War wanted to console Prince Lancy, but the near-comical scene left him speechless with suppressed laughter. Alright, that's enough for the assessment. Conductor War, let's proceed with my itinerary as originally planned. Prince Lancy composed himself and said to War, the gains from the Angel City front were considerable. Next, he should visit the Takahan Theater. On the surface, that area was already under Imperial occupation, but secretly Federation combat units were extremely active, preventing the numerous mining operations there from resuming production. This hindered the Imperial army from obtaining local resources to sustain the war effort, which in turn burdened the logistics of the Empire's vast space fleet. If this problem remained unsolved, it would inevitably have a severely adverse impact on the Imperial space fleet. Hey kid, you did that on purpose, didn't you? Sangsong whispered as he helped me to get my head checked. Senior, do I look like someone who would do that? Who would make themselves a lump on the head for fun? I protested innocently. I think you do. TCH. Then what would I gain? Are you secretly after our Miss Yunya? You deliberately hurt yourself, so she would treat you, hoping to gain her sympathy. I advise you to give up that idea unless you want to die a horrible. Hey, where are you going? Unexpectedly, Sangsong, who was about my build, was just as quick to react. As soon as I broke free from his grip, he grabbed me again. Heavens no, I completely forgot about that terrifying female medic when I injured myself. Oh, I'm fine. This lump will probably go away in a few days. I don't need to see a doctor. He'll go back to work. I tried my best to look fine, hoping to escape. No way. You were dizzy just now. You need to be checked. What if you have a concussion? Then who would peel the potatoes? Cook Sangsong dragged me responsibly into the infirmary. Ah, a miserable scream echoed from the infirmary. Alas, one reaps what one sows. Bang! The train in motion suddenly came to an abrupt halt, throwing me from the high bunk onto the floor. I had just scrambled up ready to curse when I heard a loud boom from very close by. A violent explosion caused the carriage to tremble fiercely, sending me crashing to the floor again. Battle stations, battle stations. The train is under attack. All personnel prepare for combat immediately. Maintenance squad, inspect the train's damage immediately. Air defense team, be alert for aerial threats. All other personnel remain at your posts and await orders. The Chungyun strategic transport train had just departed from the Anchi war zone and entered the adjacent Takelho uninhabited zone when it was forced to halt due to an unidentified attack. The train commander Wa-Air issued an order for immediate defensive positions and then dispatched scouts. Soon the scouts returned with grim news: the Chungyun had entered a minefield. What? A minefield? Prince Lan Site, who had come to inquire about the situation, was taken aback by the news. As the de facto military commander of the Haidalong Star, the prince had an intimate knowledge of the distribution of military zones on the Dilong continent. The Takelho uninhabited zone was barren, harsh in climate, and varied in terrain. The Federation's Haidalong Defense Force had not stationed a single soldier there. After occupying the Takahan region, the Empire, faced with the stubbornly defended Anchiur defense line, had once considered sending troops through the Takelho uninhabited zone from Takahan to attack Anchiur from the flank. The first time they got lost halfway. Fortunately, just as supplies were about to run out, they made contact with a fighter jet crippled by the Federation that happened to fly over the uninhabited zone, and the entire force managed to find their way back. The second time luck was slightly better. After enduring countless hardships and crossing the uninhabited zone, the entire force charged straight into the Federation's prisoner-of-war camp in Anshir. The third time, the Empire learned its lesson and mobilized several strategic transport trains to move troops. However, while still in Takahan, they were subjected to a ferocious aerial assault by the Federation, resulting in heavy losses to the strategic trains. In the end, the Empire had no choice but to abandon the plan to attack the Anshir defense line through the Takelho uninhabited zone. The Empire gave up on the uninhabited zone, and the Federation had even less interest in sending troops there. Neither side wanted to waste their military resources, including mines and other military supplies in that zone. Now, encountering mines here clearly indicated that someone intended to thoroughly seal off the Takelho uninhabited zone. This was something the Empire, which had always wanted to establish a passage through the zone, would certainly not do. The only remaining possibility was the Federation. However, doing such a thing at this moment felt superfluous. Before the fall of Anshir, one could argue it was to secure Anshir's flank, but now, a very ominous feeling suddenly surged in Prince Lan Site's heart. Where have your scouts thoroughly inspect the area and estimate the approximate time the mines were laid? Yes, Your Highness. Your Highness, what do you think about returning to Anshir the same way, and then proceeding to Takahan via the Continental Highway as originally planned? Where cautiously suggested. I'm afraid it's too late, said Lan Site with worry. Too late? Do you think the Federation will? In Takahan, Luo could dispatch all the mine-clearing robots. No matter what, open a safe passage as quickly as possible. Wei also realized the gravity of the situation. Chung Yun Train Commander, this is Chung Yun Vanguard. Do you copy? Chung Yun Vanguard, this is the Chung Yun Train Commander. What's the situation? Chung Yun Train Commander, we estimate this minefield was laid no more than 72 hours ago. Most are ordinary anti-personnel and equipment mines with only a few proximity mines that could affect the normal operation of magnetic strategic transport trains. They were scattered very hastily. With mine-clearing robots, we can open a passage quickly. Very well. They'll have Luo Ku transfer command of the mine-clearing robots to you. Make sure the passage is. After making the arrangements, Wei reported the latest situation to Prince Lan Site. The maintenance squad also reported the damage to the train. The explosion had only scraped off a layer of paint from the exterior. As for personnel, aside from one unlucky fellow who was thrown to the floor and hit his head, causing a large bump, basically no one was injured. The minefield was laid after we occupied the Anshir defense line. This means the minefield is indeed intended to block any soldiers who might be sent from Anshir through the Takelho uninhabited zone. Immediately contact headquarters and inform them to closely monitor the movements of the Federation forces in the Takahan region and prepare for a large-scale attack. Enduring the pain in my head, I clumsily put on my individual combat gear. Kid, don't be nervous. It's just a minor incident, probably just a mine. Right? Is that so? Huh. Kid, where are you from? Where's your home? My home is on the Hymoans planet. My dad said our family immigrated from the Siluan planet. Oh, Hymoans is a great place. I heard the primitive ecology is well preserved, the air is fresh. Siluan planet is also nice. Hey, have you ever been to Siluan planet? No. What kind of place is it? My dad seems to hate it. Siluan is most famous for Poker City, a very prosperous place. Many people are proud to have a place there, but some don't like it. I can't really describe it. If you have the chance, go see for yourself, and you'll understand. Oh, and you, sir, where are you from? I'm from the Ludden planet. My family has been born and raised there for generations. That's also a good place with delicious food everywhere. If you have the chance, come with me and visit. I guarantee you'll enjoy gourmet food every day, and you won't get repeats even after a month. Wow, that would be great. But I wonder when I'll have the chance. Imagining the countless delicacies, my mouth watered, and I wished I could go and taste them right now. Haha, young man, don't be impatient. After the war is over, there will be plenty of opportunities. Sigh, I wonder when it will be over. As they spoke, the train slowly started moving again, but the state of combat readiness was not lifted. The train traveled at full speed through the uninhabited zone with high alert for 4 days, encountering 11 minefields in total. In another 24 hours, the train would exit the Takelho uninhabited zone. Ahead, another minefield was discovered. The mine-clearing robots began their routine operations in an orderly fashion. However, at that moment, a sudden change occurred. The mine-clearing robots sent to clear the mines suddenly lost contact. 6 o'clock direction, 12 missiles. Distance 21,000 meters, altitude 500 meters, speed 1,200 meters per second. In the combat control center, 12 crimson dots on the air defense radar were rapidly approaching. Activate jamming radar, launch decoys. Activate the camouflage system. At Air's command, the Chung Yun strategic transport train gradually melted away like snow under the blazing sun, vanishing without a trace. The interference waves emitted by the jamming radar successfully lured 6 missiles to pursue the decoys, while the remaining 6 equipped with the Lock Shadow radar system accurately struck the last location, where the train disappeared, leaving 6 shallow craters on the hard rocky ground. Target lost. Immediately keep a close watch and do not overlook any suspicious locations. 6 fighter bombers crossed the ridgeline where they had been hiding, following the lead aircraft to hover above the impact point. Using the point of impact as a center, they began a continuous cycle of climbing, diving, and strafing, tearing up every inch of the earth with their cannons to confirm whether anything was concealed beneath. After nearly 10 minutes of this futile effort, they found nothing. It was not their fault. The airborne radar was now filled with snowflakes, leaving them only visual observation to locate the target. Yet searching for a target in stealth mode across this vast wilderness was more difficult than finding a needle in a haystack. The only traceable clue was the dust kicked up by the abnormal airflow generated by the target's movement. The fighter bombers had clearly lost patience. The 6 aircraft spread out in a plum blossom formation and ascended to higher altitudes. When they reached approximately 1500 meters, the distance between the aircraft rapidly widened and 6 bombs were released from their bellies. Soon after leaving the aircraft, the 6 bombs burst like fireworks, splitting into countless smaller bomblets. After repeating this process 5 times, by the time the bombs fell to less than 100 meters above the ground, they had transformed into a bomb net covering a radius of hundreds of miles. Wow, that's beautiful. What are those guys doing? In the dining car, my mood was far less tense than when we first entered the no man's land and hit the minefield. Perhaps it was because this attack had coincidentally freed me from the potato peeling task. Watching the blossoming bomb clusters in the sky through the window, I couldn't help but ask Sang Song curiously. In stealth mode, the camouflage party's external observation is not hindered. The only difference is that the colors of the scenery appear slightly different from normal. How different? Huh. I can't quite explain it. Only by experiencing it firsthand can one feel it. It's indeed a bit different. In stealth mode, the camouflage party's external observation is not hindered. The only difference is that the colors of the scenery appear slightly different from normal. How different? Huh. I can't quite explain it. Only by experiencing it firsthand can one feel it. It's indeed a bit different. Huh. I can't quite explain it. Only by experiencing it firsthand can one feel it. It's indeed a bit. Damn, are these guys really going all out against us? Dropping 6 net bombs at once. Are they trying to kill us? Is that thing really that powerful? Isn't it just like, what's it called? Cluster bombs. I vaguely recalled that when I studied military history in the village, there was a mention of a bomb that splits into countless smaller ones, but the name escaped me, so I made up one on the spot. It's fine against infantry, but will it be effective against our train? I vaguely recalled that when I studied military history in the village, there was a mention of a bomb that splits into countless smaller ones, but the name escaped me, so I made up one on the spot. Using that kind of bomb against this strategic train is probably like scratching an itch. Kid, that's a whole different story. When the bombs fall, remember, don't touch any metal objects. Sang Song didn't say much more, just kindly warned me. He seemed even more nervous than I was. All departments, please prepare for electrical shock protection. Wall wanted to accelerate the train to escape the coverage of the net anti-electronic bomb, but doing so would expose the train in stealth mode to the enemy for 30 seconds. Enough time for the 6 fighter bombers overhead to launch a fatal attack, not to mention other potential ambushing aircraft and the minefield. Since evasion was impossible, the only option was to fight back. Even if they took a hit, as long as they took down the 6 aircraft overhead, the battle would become easier. Since evasion was impossible, the only option was to fight back. Even if they took a hit, as long as they took down the 6 aircraft overhead, the battle would become easier. Once the aircraft overhead are eliminated, the hidden ambushers will naturally reveal themselves. All anti-aircraft gunners, take your positions and select your targets. I don't require a first shot kill, but I demand that all 6 be brought down. Good luck to everyone. As the rain of bombs was about to fall on the train roof, I was astonished to see that the tiny bomblets were connected by fine metal wires. Damn, such a strange bomb exists. Is it really that powerful? Such a strange bomb exists. Is it really that powerful? In disbelief, I secretly extended my little finger to touch the metal support of the dining table. The moment I made contact, the dining car suddenly became eerily quiet, just as I was about to look around to see what was happening. Sizzle. A blue spark burst from the metal support, and a faint scent of roasted meat wafted through the car. Damn, this thing is electrified. Luckily, I pulled my hand back quickly, or my entire hand would have been like a roasted pig's trotter. Still, the tip of my little finger lost a layer of skin. Kid, didn't I tell you not to touch metal? How does it feel? Sang Song, seeing my body jolt, guessed what had happened. Still recovering from the numbness of the electric shock, I could only force a bitter smile at Chef Sang Song. When the net bombs were directly overhead, the strategic train Chongyun shut down all its power systems. Losing power, the train immediately exited stealth mode. The 6 fighter bombers, having spotted the target, swooped down like eagles preying on rabbits, unleashing all their onboard weapons in a fierce assault on the stationary train. Enduring the assault, several tongues of fire erupted from the train's roof, instantly blasting 4 of the 6 aircraft into fiery explosions. The remaining 2 still dove recklessly, seemingly intent on a suicidal collision, but they too were turned into fireballs in midair by the dense anti-aircraft fire before crashing into the train. The smoke and dust from the net bomb explosions had not yet dissipated, but the Chungyun, after suffering the electrical surge, immediately restored power once the current subsided. Reports of damage from various departments poured into Wall. Many sensitive electrical devices were damaged, but fortunately not all were paralyzed. The stealth system was hit hardest, requiring at least 2 hours of repairs to restore functionality. After shooting down the 6 fighter bombers, no other enemy targets were detected. Wall, who should have felt relieved, suddenly had a sense of being deceived, but he couldn't pinpoint exactly where the problem lay. "Commander Wall, why hasn't the train started moving yet?" Prince Lanster in his private carriage grew impatient with the prolonged halt and called to inquire. "Your Highness, the train sustained considerable damage in the attack and requires repairs. Additionally, the minefield ahead has not been cleared. For your safety, we depart immediately. I must reach the TACCON theater within 24 hours. Any further delay will turn it into enemy territory. Your Highness, I must ensure your safety. Major Wall, can't you see that the enemy is stalling for time? How many air raids have we encountered since the start of my inspection tour? Including today's just one. Where have all the Federation's air hunters gone? They can't be on vacation. This can only mean they have a more important operation. Therefore, I must reach the TACCON theater in the shortest possible time, no matter what. If the enemy wanted to destroy us, the sky would be filled with aircraft right now, not empty as it is, without even a cloud. How many air raids have we encountered since the start of my inspection tour? Including today's just one. Where have all the Federation's air hunters gone? They can't be on vacation. This can only mean they have a more important operation. Therefore, I must reach the TACCON theater in the shortest possible time, no matter what. If the enemy wanted to destroy us, the sky would be filled with aircraft right now, not empty as it is, without even... Prince Lanster firmly believed that as long as he could reach the TACCON theater in time, he could avert the impending crisis there. Your Highness, please forgive my incompetence, but the train in its current state cannot reach TACCON within 24 hours. Please take a look at the minefield distribution map sent back by the mine-clearing robots before they lost contact. Wall was growing a bit irritated, but still tried to explain, projecting an electronic map of the minefield distribution through the onboard network in front of Prince Lanster. Wall was growing a bit irritated, but still tried to explain, projecting an electronic map of the minefield distribution through the onboard network in front of Prince Lanster. All of them are proximity mines. Seeing the train's path completely blocked by dense clusters of purple-orange lights, Prince Lanster couldn't help but gasp inwardly. And that wasn't even the full extent of it. Your Highness, if we must force our way through the minefield, the train can only decelerate to a standard speed and proceed cautiously to pass safely. That would require at least 30 more hours. Vol took a deep breath to suppress his anger and continued, afraid of derailing. Then let's do this. Activate the spare locomotive and split up. I've studied the map. There are at least 2 relatively safe routes, the plain on the left and this river valley on the right. He'll take the valley route. You choose which way to go, but please get to the TACCON war zone as quickly as possible. Lance studied the map meticulously before making his decision. Reducing the length of the magnetic train would significantly improve its stability during operation, making it less likely to overturn even when encountering violent explosions. Your Highness, this won't do. I must be responsible for your safety. Enough? It's decided. The Chungyun train convoy split in 2. The spare locomotive, pulling 4 carriages carrying Prince Lance and his entourage, sped away. Soon a dense series of explosions, boom, 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 rolled in from a distance. Commander, what should we do? How many men can we still deploy? All available personnel have been mobilized. If we squeeze, we can pull 2 more from the dining car. Then assign them to the anti-aircraft positions and strengthen air defense. Depart. Full speed ahead. We'll break through via the other route. Commander, we should repair the camouflage system first before leaving. No need. Perhaps this will make His Highness a bit safer. Ah, thank goodness we don't have to bring 5 extra platoons of reinforcements to TACCON. That would have been truly troublesome. Racing at full speed, the Chungyun train plunged into the minefield along the flat plain. The triggered mines swarmed around the train, exploding into a sea of fire on all sides. The strategic transport train had become a mine-clearing vehicle. The violently jolting train was like a small boat in a raging storm, tossed up and down, now lifted, now dropped. One misstep, and it would be swallowed by the ocean of flames. Admiral James Holt looked at the battle report in his hand, a smug smile spreading across his face. Our guests have split into 2 groups. James Holt handed the report to Admiral Lloyd. Oh, you predicted exactly that. Then let's entertain them at 2 tables. Lloyd said after glancing at it. Should I detach some troops from my side to assist? No, you focus on executing your plan. We can't afford to lose now. Oid, you're too cautious. That's both your strength and your weakness. Holt, you're too confident. That's both your strength and your weakness. Huh. That's why we're the perfect partners. By the way, did you send the distress signal for that so-called prince? Sent it. The moment they lost power, we sent it on their behalf. Now under the jamming of my electronic warfare unit, no information can get out of the Teclero no man's land. Excellent. Figure out a way to transmit this as well. It was an image from a reconnaissance satellite. A fighter bomber exploded into a fireball near a military train. The image, no matter how you looked at it, showed a military train under fierce attack struggling to defend itself. Hopefully it will draw out both of Salvador's mobile armored battalions. Then your side would be in extreme danger. It's fine. The outcome there won't have a major impact on the battle situation. Besides, the Nighthawk Brigade is handling the mission. They wouldn't want anyone else's help. The key is your side. If we win this, we can turn the tide. If we lose, the Federation has no chance. Howard, you're being a bit too pessimistic. Perhaps. What? The Prince's special train is under ambush somewhere in the Teclero no man's land. What the hell do you mean somewhere? I need the exact location. The exact location. Lieutenant General Salvador, commander of the Empire's Takan war zone, already in a foul mood due to frequent attacks in the area, was furious at his subordinates' incompetence. Report. An intelligence officer burst into the command post, nearly knocking over an officer who was about to leave. What is it? Salvador glanced at the reckless officer. General, the intelligence department intercepted some signals from enemy reconnaissance satellites. Please take a look. The officer quickly reported. Yes, it's the Chongyun, the Prince's special train. Has the intelligence department pinpointed the location? Can we contact the military train? Salvador took the materials and quickly identified the image showing the ambushed train. The intelligence department estimates it's in the Teclero no man's land near the upper reaches of the Manta River and close to the Chorus Plain, at least 8,000 kilometers from Takan. Communication has been impossible due to severe interference. Damn, it couldn't have picked a worse time. George, immediately relay my orders. The 3rd and 6th Mobile Armored Battalions, along with the 37th Infantry Battalion, are to advance into the no man's land. Target area near the upper reaches of the Manta River, close to Chorus Plain. At all costs, find the Prince's special train and ensure His Highness' safety. Additionally, report the situation to the Haidiron Star Command headquarters and request immediate reinforcements. Immediately. General, this is not advisable. If the enemy attacks us, now the Takan war zone will be in danger. The intelligence officer warned, as all recent intelligence indicated the Federation was about to launch a large-scale counteroffensive in the Takan sector. True, but we can retake a lost war zone. If anything happens to the Prince, our careers are finished. The messenger had already left with the orders. The intelligence officer hesitated for a moment, as if wanting to say something more, but finally gave up. Salvador was right after all. But if the Takan war zone were actually lost, that same prince might be the first to demand the general's head, even if the general managed to rescue him from his predicament. Kid, got it. Got it. The pedals are the rudders. Step left to turn left, step right to turn right. Elevation is behind the gun mount. Raise or lower to change the firing angle. Put the aiming circle on the target and fire. The black button is the trigger. The yellow button is auto aim, green is full auto, red is emergency ejection. Did I get it right? Ho ho. Teachable lad. Make sure you're clear. Don't panic when the time comes. And watch your ammunition. Got it, old man. Sitting in the efficient anti-aircraft turret atop the train, I familiarized myself with the controls while listening to Samson's endless nagging through the intercom, all while enduring the train's jolts. Damn, this place is no place for a human. Luckily, the energy shield emitted by the locomotive blocked most of the blast impact, and there were no air raids, so for now, it was relatively safe. But good fortune never lasts forever. After the train had been hurtling for 12 hours, and was about to slow down for a brief rest, the air raid siren suddenly blared. Enemy aircraft. Bearing 010, range 5500, altitude 300, speed 320, approaching. All anti-aircraft positions, be alert and intercept. Hey, Senior Samson, intercept what? My mind was a blank. I could barely tell north from south. You idiot. Intercept the missiles that get through, of course. Missiles that get through. Watch your 4 o'clock. 2 missiles. Shoot them down now. What? Damn, they really do come as soon as they're mentioned. I stomped on the rudders to adjust the turret's angle, desperately searching for the targets. No sooner had I adjusted the angle than the image before my eyes startled me. There were far more than 2 missiles. The sky was swarming with them like locusts. Without bothering to aim, I opened fire wildly at the missile swarm. Idiot, where are you firing? Take aim before you shoot. Don't waste ammunition on missiles that have already deviated from their targets. The rebuke came through the communicator from Sang Song. An experienced veteran could judge the approximate impact point of a missile from its trajectory and determine its target, while to a greenhorn every missile seemed to be coming straight for him. Whether it was sheer luck or the sheer density of missiles, my wild barrage actually managed to blow up quite a few. I just didn't know if those two missiles Sangsong mentioned were among them. At least so far no missile had struck the train. While I was busy dealing with the missiles, enemy aircraft swooped over the train and began their dive attacks. Those are humanoid machines. Set up interception fire quickly. Don't let them get close. The voice hoarse and frantic came from the chaotic communicator. A layered net of fire from 20 anti-aircraft guns desperately held back the dive attacks of the assault mecha squadron. The rapidly moving train suddenly decelerated. The car behind the locomotive split open and flattened sideways. 6 heavy combat mecha which had been on standby rose in sequence and joined the interception. The Chengyun strategic transport train had no choice but to deploy its most powerful defense, and its last line of defense. Ammunition. Ammunition. I'm out. Get me ammunition. I shouted into the communicator hoping someone would hear and bring me ammunition. Despite Sangsong's occasional reminders to conserve, I had already exhausted my supply. Fortunately, I had been assigned to the rearmost turret, so my lack of ammunition didn't significantly affect the overall defense of the train. It only made things hard for the poor guy controlling the other rear turret, who had to cover both sides on his own, while I could only stand by helplessly. An assault mecha spotted a rare gap in the train's defense. It adjusted its flight trajectory, slightly brandished its plasma wave blade, and charged at the rear. It seemed its ammunition was also running low. By now the train was smoking everywhere, and could only slow down. There was no hope of accelerating to escape the attack. Seeing the blade gleaming coldly about to fall on my head, survival instinct made me hit the emergency ejection button without hesitation. With a bang, the ejection seat hurled me out like a pellet. Caught off guard, the attacking mecha pilot thought it was some new weapon and raised an arm to block. Luckily, I was strong enough. I hit the ground, spat out a couple of mouthfuls of blood, but survived. The intense pain cleared my mind. The battle raged on, stray bullets flying everywhere. To avoid dying in vain, I endured the pain, rolled and crawled into the thick weeds. I don't know how long passed before the trembling of the earth roused me from a daze. This was a forest of towering trees. Could some monster be foraging here? After falling from the train, I hadn't lain in the grass for long before I got up. My intuition told me that if I didn't get out of this godforsaken place quickly, the consequences would be dire. The battle had moved away with the train. Occasionally 1 or 2 assault mecha trailing smoke flew low over the nearby woods, fleeing the battlefield. It seemed the enemy had also suffered heavy losses. I had no idea how the train was doing. The communicator was silent. I could only follow the tracks left by the train across the wilderness. After dragging my exhausted body into this forest, I had barely rested when I was awakened. What a miserable... I climbed a dense tree and peered through the gaps. In the distance among the woods, I caught a glint of metal. It's a humanoid machine. Wow, this is a jackpot. A prey that delivers itself. I won't let it get away. Don't think you're so great just because you're piloting a hunk of iron. You made me suffer a lot earlier. Now it's my turn to mess with you. I have quite some experience dealing with these machines in the woods. When I was a kid, I used to steal agricultural humanoid machines and would be chased all over the mountains by people piloting them. From then on, I figured out ways to deal with those chasing me in the forest. Eventually, no one dared to bring a humanoid machine into the woods to chase me anymore, because those machines ended up as my trophies, and then I'd dismantle them into scrap. If I couldn't pilot them, I might as well take them apart for fun, haha. I quickly set up a trap in the forest and deliberately created suspicious noises to lure that humanoid machine closer. Wow, it's really beautiful. Up close, the machine's silver-gray fuselage had sleek lines, and with its mounted weapons it looked far more imposing than the agricultural models back in the village. I wondered if the mecha attacking our train were like this one. During the battle, I hadn't had a chance to admire them. I was too busy fighting. If I had known such excellent machines existed out here, I might have enlisted long ago. The unsuspecting humanoid machine stepped into the trap without realizing it. It stood there, turning its metal head this way and that, trying to identify the source of the noise. After a moment of fruitless searching, it moved forward again. Clutching a wooden stick I had made from a broken branch, I crept up from behind. My trap was simple. I had twisted several vines into loops. Stepping on them wouldn't trigger anything immediately. The vines would wrap around the machine's feet, and as it moved, snag into the joints of its legs, eventually causing abnormal movement. At that point, the pilot would still not realize it was a trap. He would think he had merely tripped over vines and would try to shake them off. But it wouldn't be that easy. The vines were specially chosen, and their placement was deliberate. Unless he pulled up a tree or two, he couldn't break free. Moreover, the vines had already lodged into the joints. Even if he did get free, the machine's mobility would be compromised. The humanoid machine before me stopped. It seemed the pilot had noticed his feet were tangled. He directly stopped the machine, climbed out of the cockpit, and quickly cut the entwined vines. All that remained was to clear the vines stuck in the joints. He seemed like a smart guy. Using brute force would only have made the lodged vines harder to remove, so he chose. If I hadn't been lying in ambush nearby, his method would indeed have been correct. But under the circumstances, it was utterly foolish and fatal. While the pilot took off his helmet and bent down to inspect the joints of the machine's foot, I swung the wooden stick in my hand and struck him hard. I knocked the pilot of the humanoid mecha unconscious to the ground, not bothering to check if he was alive or dead. However, based on my experience from fighting since childhood, that guy wouldn't die, but would be unconscious for a long time. Long enough for me to pilot this mecha and catch up with my own people. I climbed into the cockpit and found that the internal system was still running. Perfect. This way, I wouldn't have to waste effort dealing with the identification system. For agricultural models, a punch would do the trick. But I didn't know if military ones were as responsive. If I got a chance next time, I'd definitely try it. For now, escape was the priority, so I'd avoid unnecessary risks. But fate had other plans. As soon as I sat in the cockpit, I heard someone shouting through the communicator, "Flying Eagle 6, Flying Eagle 6, where the hell are you? Answer me immediately. What's up?" I hesitated for a moment, then connected the communication and replied. After all, it was a non-visual communicator. I could bluff and deceive as needed. I wasn't about to give up what I had easily. "Where the hell were you just now? Why didn't you answer?" "Oh, I had a small problem with my foot. Got tangled in some vines. I went down to fix it and just got back." "Anything else?" "Humph. Seriously, you always like to go off on your own. Next time, let us know beforehand. We're returning to base. Follow me and don't fall behind." From the speaker's tone, it seemed the guy I knocked out was a very unsociable one. As his words faded, I saw a humanoid mecha soaring into the sky less than 20 meters away. Damn, that was close. If that guy had come over, I'd be done for. Good news. The enemy's 2 convoys have been dealt with, one heavily damaged, the other destroyed. Admiral Zhan glanced at the latest battle report brought by the orderly and said, "Oh, which convoy was destroyed?" Aoid raised an eyebrow and asked, "The one that took the valley route. And the one that was heavily damaged, eh? It was rescued. Guess how many reinforcements Salva sent? 2 mobile armor battalions. Plus an infantry battalion. It seems that Prince Fellow is really important to Salva, to the point of risking his own life. How's your side going?" "Very smoothly. All the infiltration units have reached their designated positions." "Then why haven't you sprung the net?" I want to see the Prey's predicament a bit longer. By the way, should the retreating Night Eagle Brigade return directly to your defense zone, or?" Admiral Zhan put down the battle report, poured himself a cup of tea, and slowly savored the flavor. "No need. Let them stay in your theater as a strategic reserve. Although the Empire's 4th and 11th armies have been worn down by your piecemeal attacks, a lean camel is still bigger than a horse. I know this, and you know it too." Aoid stood up and paced a few steps in the room. "Huh, that's true. That gives me even more confidence to annihilate the Empire's 4th and 11th armies. Orderly, immediately relay my order to launch the general attack." Admiral Zhan smiled as he gave the order for the total offensive. "Old friend, don't be too boastful or open your mouth too wide. Just annihilate 80 of their combat power and then act according to the situation. I still need to rely on the troops. We have to keep the Empire at bay for 10 days or half a month." "No problem. After this battle, the Empire will behave for at least 10 days. I just wish our space fleet could move faster. Otherwise." Sigh. "Yes, otherwise all our efforts would be wasted." "All right, enough of that. Are you really going to send the commander of the Night Eagle Brigade to court-martial? If it weren't for his disobedience, charging out recklessly and being taken advantage of by the Empire, allowing the Empire to sneak attack the Angel defense line, Angel wouldn't have fallen so quickly. You know, I've always opposed this counterattack plan, but now I have no choice but to come and support you." On the other hand, if Angel were still in our hands, the operation to encircle and annihilate the 4th Army probably wouldn't have gone so smoothly. "That's right, but exposing our strength to the enemy is not a good thing. The reason you're temporarily keeping the Night Eagle Brigade here is to let Kanaisi earn more merits so he can redeem himself later, right?" Zhan guessed Aoid's thoughts. "Huh, that kid is a rare military talent, but he's too impulsive, even more than you were when you were young." Aoid said regretfully. "Hey, see that? The officers are down there welcoming us. Don't flatter yourself. They're here to see if we're dead or not." "Huh, this battle has been brutal for our brigade. We lost so many brothers just to deal with a train." "Hey kid, if the officers hear you say that, they'll charge you with undermining morale." "I'm just telling the truth. Why should I be afraid? But speaking of which, it's lucky they assigned our squad to mop up the battlefield. Otherwise, at least half of us would be saying bye-bye. Damn, how did you become a mecha pilot with such a small heart? Might as well retire." "You're the one who's not afraid of death. If you're not afraid of death, why don't you just dive down now?" I spit. "You jinx keep talking like that, and ill." "Hey, Captain, I'm receiving a distress signal. It's Flying Eagle 6. You must be hearing things. Isn't Flying Eagle 6 following us?" "Captain, I got it. Handle it as the situation dictates. He's trying to escape." The knocked-out pilot regained consciousness sooner than I expected. When I heard my identity exposed over the communicator, I quickly maneuvered the humanoid mecha designated Flying Eagle 6 to turn. But since I hadn't managed to increase the distance, the nearest mecha, Flying Eagle 5, turned around and collided with me. The members of the Flying Eagle squad were very considerate of their comrades during flight. If I lagged too far behind, they would slow down or circle to close the distance. This left me no chance to escape, so I had to follow them all the way into the Federation's war zone. Although the military humanoid mecha's control system was similar to the agricultural model, just maintaining stable flight in the air required all my strength, let alone engaging in aerial combat against others. And Flying Eagle 5 never expected that the guy daring enough to steal their mecha would be such a novice. The two mechas collided, lost balance, and tumbled downward in a frantic descent. Enemy air raid. Protect the two generals quick. Amid the sudden air raid siren, a group of bodyguards hurriedly grabbed the two still-stunned admirals and rushed them outside. What's going on? How did enemy aircraft get here? Are you kidding me? We have absolute air superiority in this area. How could enemy planes launch an air raid? Admiral Zhanmu, Hyut was puzzled. General, the situation is still unclear, but the air raid is real. The Flying Eagle squad of the just-retired Night Eagle Brigade is intercepting. An officer answered urgently. However, before the group could run out of the command post's gate, they heard a loud bang as something crashed onto the roof. Then, with a boom, the entire command post collapsed in the ensuing explosion, and the swirling dust swallowed everyone. The Chungyun train trailing carriages, still billowing smoke, slowly pulled into the supply depot established by the Empire in the Takkahan war zone. Several repair vehicles, already waiting, swarmed forward to carry out repairs and resupply, bustling with activity. Before the train had even come to a complete stop, Wall jumped off and rushed straight to the depot's dispatch office. Grabbing hold of a dispatcher, he demanded loudly, "Do you have any news of the prince? Has the prince's special train already passed through here?" No. Aren't you the special train of Prince? The dispatcher was startled. There's another one. Any news of it? Wall shook the dispatcher back and forth, trying to rouse his wits. Ow, another one. No way. The bewildered dispatcher grew even more confused. The prince took a different route. He separated from us. Do you have any news of them? Wall's patience was at its limit. If he didn't get a proper answer soon, he would surely strangle the poor fellow before him. No news yet. Major, please calm down. Fortunately, someone nearby interjected in time. Though the answer was not what he hoped for, it at least saved the life of the poor dispatcher, who still had no idea what was happening. Wall released the dispatcher and swept his gaze around, quickly locating the one who had interrupted. He was about to demand why he dared to cut in while a superior officer was speaking when he caught a glimpse of the man's shoulder insignia. A lieutenant colonel. Major Wall, commander of the strategic transport train Chungyun. May I ask who? Wall suppressed his anger and saluted. Lieutenant Colonel Lamoxis, the highest-ranking officer of Supply Depot Alpha 7 in the Takkahan war zone. If you have any questions, you may address them directly to me. Please do not interfere with my subordinates' work. The enemy is attacking you. Every minute of delay here will cause unpredictable losses at the front. The lieutenant colonel returned the salute courteously. Oh good. Could you please help me contact General Salva? All the communication equipment on our train has been reduced to scrap metal. Certainly. Follow me. Scissors, hemostat, scalpel. Yunya carefully sutured the wound and let out a long sigh of relief. She had finally finished treating all the wounded. Accepting the cloth handed over by her assistant, Yunya wiped the sweat from her face and walked out of the operating room. The Chungyun had nearly been destroyed. Only one heavy battle mecha from the squad returned. The anti-aircraft turrets on the roof were down to 3 barely functional. The crew, including the heavy mecha squad, suffered 21 fatalities, 6 serious injuries, 2 minor injuries, and 1 missing. Total combat losses exceeded half. If not for the timely rescue by the mecha battalion, the Chungyun would have been wiped from the Empire's roster. That chubby lad must be among the missing. I heard he was in charge of the rear anti-aircraft turret. The rear of the train was the most damaged area, with almost zero chance of escape. Alas, I shouldn't have been so harsh with that kid. If he turns into a vengeful spirit because of resentment, trouble will surely follow. A bitter smile flickered at the corner of Yunya's lips. Bang, bang, bang. Medic! Medic! Is there a medic on board? A pounding and shouting from outside the carriage pulled Yunya out of her thoughts. Yunya walked to the nearest door and looked out. An unfamiliar nurse stood anxiously beside the train. What is it? I am the medic, Yunya asked, gripping the door frame. Oh, that's wonderful. The front line just sent down many wounded and our doctors are overwhelmed. Could you please come? Well, Xiaofei, stay here and watch over the wounded. If anything happens, call me on this. Yunya pointed to the communicator at her ear and said to her assistant. Could your nurse come too? The little nurse was truly pushing her luck. Yunya frowned, about to say something, but was interrupted. Yunya, both of you go. It was Sang Song, whose hands were wrapped in bandages. Behind him stood Captain Locke, supporting his back. Why are you up? Do you want to lose your hands? Get back to bed, or no one can save your hands. Yunya shouted. Girl, don't be so fierce. I'm the only one who can move, so they sent me as a representative. Don't worry about us, our wounds are fine now. Fine my ass. I order you to get back to bed immediately. I don't care if you live or die. Yunya was furious. Captain Locke, keep an eye on those men. Check their temperature and blood pressure every 2 hours and report to me. Xiaofei, let's go. Yunya grabbed Xiaofei and jumped off the train, storming away. Hey, aren't you going to lead the way? Locke waved at the unknown little nurse. Oh, you're a captain. She's a lieutenant, how dare she? The little nurse recovered from her shock. Huh. On our train we don't pay attention to ranks. Go on. Locke, though bothered by Yunya's attitude as a lieutenant, made up an excuse. Thank you so much. My name is Yi Wuxin. Please feel free to visit our medical team anytime. Thank you. The little nurse gave her thanks repeatedly and hurried after Yunya. Hey, Yunya, where are you going? Halfway down the road the three were stopped by Major Wall, who had just returned from the dispatch. Commander, some wounded just arrived from the front line. I wanted to go take a look. A look? What about the train? I've already handled everything. No unexpected deterioration barring accidents. Alright, go ahead. Keep in touch. Wall glanced at Yunya, then at the strange little nurse hiding behind her, whose eyes were full of anxiety and hope. He said nothing more. Led by Yi Wuxin, the group soon arrived at the medical battalion station. The situation was even worse than expected. An open space of several hundred square meters was filled with wounded, and field ambulances in the distance kept bringing in more. At the edge of the camp lay several stretchers covered with white cloth. From the corner of the white robes visible beneath the cloth, Yunya could tell those had once been medics. Now they could no longer help the wounded. They were killed by stray bullets. Seeing Yunya's gaze lingering on those stretchers, Yi Wuxin murmured beside. Alright, let's get to work. There are still many people waiting for us to save. Yunya gently patted Yi Wuxin's shoulder. What? We're withdrawing. But General Salva just told us to stand by. How? I'm sorry, Major. The latest order we received is this, and it's the final order. Then what about Prince Lannister? Major Wall had just stepped back onto the train when a messenger from Lieutenant Colonel Lamoxis arrived bringing news of the impending retreat. Faced with Major Wall's question, the messenger could not answer. His duty was only to deliver the order. The messenger shrugged helplessly and turned to leave. He still had to deliver the order to other units. As far as he knew, many units and command posts had already lost radio contact. At some point, stray bullets falling from the sky grew denser. The routed soldiers from the front had formed a long, winding stream, moving toward the rear of the Takahan war zone. The situation looked dire. Locke, contact Lieutenant Yun. Tell them to return immediately. We're retreating. Wall called Locke and ordered, retreat. Not waiting for that prince. Locke asked, not because he cared about the prince, but out of mild surprise. General Salva sent 3 battalions to search. If Lannister is still alive, those 3 battalions will get him to safety. Wall said with a hint of reluctance. Commander, I can't reach Lieutenant Yun. Go yourself. You must find them. Where is your communicator? The medical battalion of Alpha A 7 Station was easy to find. Luo Ku spotted Yunya busy among the wounded, grabbed her, and asked bluntly. Here? Oh. It might have been knocked off by shrapnel. Why are you here? Since you're here, give me a hand. Yunya, already dizzy from busyness, raised her hand to touch the communicator on her helmet, but found nothing. I came to take you back. We're retreating. Luo Ku pulled Yunya aside. Retreat? What about these? Someone will take care of them. What did you say? Nothing. Will contact the train commander for you. Luo Ku knew it was unrealistic to expect Yunya to abandon the wounded, and besides, he too didn't want to leave his comrades behind, even those he didn't know. What? She refuses to leave. Drag her back. Train commander, is that appropriate? And there are 2 of them. Luo Ku knew his own difficulties. How are the wounded? Hard to say. There are too many. It seems the medical battalion will also retreat, but... Alright, let her send the wounded who can't be evacuated in time to the train. Okay. Thank you, train commander. Stop talking nonsense, and go quickly. Major Waer, thank you. Hearing the thanks behind him, train commander Waer turned around and saw Lieutenant Colonel Lai Moxisai, the supreme commander of Alpha A 7 Station. Lieutenant Colonel Lai Moxisai, what brings you here? Why thank me? I'm worried about the transfer of the wounded. You know the situation is dire, and I can't evacuate all the wounded by myself, so... It's only right. I also need to ask you to find some spare train cars too for me. I'm afraid my space won't be enough. No problem. I noticed you don't have many anti-aircraft turrets left, so I took the liberty of bringing some heavy machine guns. You decide where to mount them and direct the installation. Those men will stay with you too. They may not be as elite as your troops, but better than nothing. Thank you. I should be the one saying that. I should say it too. Haha, at this time of the Empire's peril, let's dispense with formalities. Alas, the battle was lost too quickly. Lieutenant Colonel Lai Moxisai straightened his cap, saluted Waer, and without waiting for a return salute, turned and got off the train. Hurry. Load the critically wounded first. Bury the dead on the spot. Captain Luo Ku was methodically organizing the transfer of the wounded when he caught a glimpse of Yunya, who was performing emergency treatment on a wounded soldier being pushed to the ground. Not knowing what happened, Luo Ku ran over and immediately understood. Don't touch him. He's alive. A wounded soldier with a bandaged head holding half a corpse in his arms howled and pushed away anyone who tried to remove the body from his embrace. Luo Ku approached without a word and slapped the soldier across the face. You bastard. He's dead, dead, dead. He's dead, and you won't let him rest. You're a bastard. You son of a bitch, he'll fight you. The wounded soldier, having been hit, jumped up and lunged at Luo Ku. Luo Ku then knocked the soldier unconscious with a punch. Find someone to bury him and put him on the train. Luo Ku pointed to the fallen corpse and the unconscious soldier, instructing the stunned medical staff standing nearby. Are you crazy? How can you treat a wounded soldier like that? If something happens to him, can you take responsibility? Yinya, coming to her senses, kicked Luo Ku, who was off guard, to the ground. Ouch. Don't you think that was the best way, eh? I don't want to argue with you. You guys hurry up and get the wounded on the train. Xiao Fei, come with me. Yinya led Xiao Fei toward the distant road. TSK. This girl has no respect for her superior. Luo Ku, drawing in a sharp breath, got up from the ground. Someone fell over there. Oh, we're going to check. Yinya replied without looking back. Go quickly and come back. Time is short. Luo Ku wanted to follow, but the wounded soldier was too heavy for the two nurses to lift, so he had to stay and help. In the twilight, the twin suns of Hai Dilong gradually sank below the horizon. As night fell, I, desperate to escape, became even more disoriented. But then again, from the moment I sat in the cockpit of Fang 6, I had never been able to tell my directions. I thought it would be better at night, at least I could navigate by the stars. Now that the stars were out, I realized I didn't know which stars marked which direction on Hai Dilong. Now I could only pick a star and fly toward it until the fuel ran out because I didn't know how to land. Moreover, there was a group of pursuers behind me, and I had no idea when I could shake them off. The warning sound, beep beep, sounded again, telling me that Fang 6 was locked by missiles again. I had no choice but to adjust the attitude, making Fang 6 spin like a top in the air while arcing forward. That was the flying technique I had just learned. Counterattack. Sorry, I was out of ammunition again. The ammunition had been mostly depleted when I, in a panic, pressed buttons randomly as I crashed Fang 5 into the roof of some unknown building. Many years later, when I learned that the building destroyed by the random barrage of bullets was the Federal Army's Takahan Frontline Supreme Command, I was dumbfounded and speechless. In the chaos, I successfully shook off Fang 5, and when I upright Fang 6 due to carelessness, I triggered the afterburner. The humanoid Fang 6 instantly accelerated and shot into the sky, brushing past several other humanoid machines that were slowing down to land and trying to intercept me, escaping alive. But after all, one side was well-trained while the other was just a lucky kid, so soon I was caught up again. After emptying all my ammunition at the pursuers, I had no choice but to flee. Since the memory of tumbling in the air with Fang 5 was still fresh and that dizzying feeling was really exhilarating, I tried to recreate that sensation while fleeing. After several attempts, I developed this spiral flying technique, and I discovered it was good for evading attacks. However, against missiles, I had to time it precisely. One time I miscalculated, and now Fang 6 only has one leg left. The feeling of being unable to fight back was frustrating. After scanning the cockpit for the nth time, I finally spotted a button covered by a translucent lid. That must be the trigger for a powerful weapon, not to be used lightly, hence the cover. Let you chase me, see how you die. I raised my hand, smashed the lid with a punch, and viciously pressed the orange button beneath. Self-destruct system initiated. System will self-destruct in 20 seconds. Please evacuate the cockpit. Self-destruct system initiated. System will self-destruct in 20 seconds. Please evacuate the cockpit. What? Self-destruct? Damn. How could this be? A rookie is a rookie, doesn't even know about the self-destruct device. Sigh. In the dark of night, two snipers lay in their chosen positions waiting for prey to descend. Yet after half a day of ambush, not even a bird's shadow had crossed their sight. Instead, they were thoroughly chilled by the cold mist rising with the night. Hey, Tony, still awake? Han Jirue broke the silence. Yeah. In this miserable place, you couldn't sleep even if you wanted to. A weary voice came through the earpiece. Are you sure those guys are hiding up there? The sniper named Tony had only entered his position after dark and wasn't clear on the enemy's situation. Of course. I saw with my own eyes during the day the brothers from our platoon chasing them up there. Why not just attack directly? Before dusk, a few brothers with the same idea, as you are now lying in the grass not far ahead. There's also a tank wrecked over there. If you think you can take that high ground alone, I'd be happy to provide covering fire. Han Jiru's tone was sardonic. Tony wasn't foolish. TSK, you might as well wish me dead. But if you could get me a mecha, I'd take it down without a second thought. Dream on. I'd like a mecha myself, at least I wouldn't be freezing here. Han Jirue said. Hey, now that you mention it, have you noticed? Tony suddenly asked Han Jirue. What's up? Han Jirue replied with a casual tone. Our mecha unit. Before the battle, the commander said would have mecha support at any moment, right? But it's been so long, and we haven't heard a sound from them. Could something have happened? Tony said worriedly. You've asked the right person. Let me tell you an inside secret. Our general headquarters was attacked and lost contact. Those officers are all panicking. Han Jirue spoke with a mysterious air. Really? You're kidding, right? Tony couldn't believe it. If the main base was taken, weren't they just sitting here waiting? Who's kidding you? I heard it with my own ears outside the battalion commander's command post. Why else would our mech? It's because they've all been recalled for reinforcements. Han Jairo's words had a ring of truth. But Tony still trusted his own judgment. TSK. Who are you fooling? If that were the case, those Empire bastards would be chasing us everywhere. How could we be the ones chasing them? Hey, believe it or not, this battlefield stuff is beyond us. Hey, watch out. Look up, something's falling from the sky. Han Jiro suddenly spotted a target. In the night sky, a parachute drifted down unsteadily under the starlight. Hey, could it be one of ours? One of ours. Doesn't look like it. Our guys come out in formations, and even if someone is shot down, the others confirm the landing spot before flying away. A lone one like this must be from the Empire. Why, oi? Idiot, don't you know what air superiority means? Right now it's on our side. So, I can't be bothered with you. He's mine. Maybe you'll get a nice souvenir. What makes him yours? Whoever hits him gets him. Damn, with your lousy marksmanship you want to compete with me. Your shooting isn't any better. While the two snipers argued, their rifles simultaneously flashed with fire, two streaks of light, racing toward the figure hanging beneath the parachute. In the final 3 seconds of the self-destruct countdown, I still couldn't think of a safe way to escape the cockpit. Several kilometers up in the sky, jumping out would surely kill me. Yet the automatic ejection system activated, blasting me and my seat out of the cockpit. The humanoid machine exploded into a fireball in midair, debris raining down like hailstones. In the darkness, the pursuers close behind clearly mistook me for one of the countless fragments. They circled the area where the mecha had exploded twice before turning back. I wonder if they ever figured out how I was shot down. Probably they wouldn't bother. If they knew I had accidentally pressed the self-destruct button, they'd have died laughing. The wind roared past my ears. I thought I would hit the ground like a stone and be shattered. But then with a soft pop, a parachute bloomed above me from the seat, still strapped to my body, and my descent slowed immediately. Wow, too bad it's night. If it were daytime, the view from up here would be beautiful. A hint of regret crossed my mind after surviving by a hair. The night wind carried me with the parachute toward the pitch-black earth. I didn't know that due to the wind, I was drifting toward the Takahan battlefield, originally our Empire's occupied territory, but now a chaotic war zone. The destruction of the Federation's Takahan frontline headquarters threw the meticulously planned annihilation operation into disarray. Many attacking units suddenly lost contact with command. Some halted their attacks and waited for orders, others continued recklessly and fired on their own troops, some hurried back to guard against surprises, and still others turned toward the headquarters to provide rescue. Fortunately, the backup command system was activated in time to stop the chaos and sustain the offensive. But the optimal opportunity to destroy the enemy had been lost, and the planned decisive battle turned into a melee. If not for the Empire's General Serwa lacking the will to fight and hastily retreating, the outcome could have been uncertain. The pitch-black earth showed not a single light, like the gaping maw of a beast ready to swallow me. Just as I was about to land, 2 bursts of orange flame flashed in the dark. 2 low gunshots pierced the silent night. I felt a lightness above me. Looking up, I saw that many of the parachute lines on both sides had been snapped by something. I tried to do something, but the remaining lines couldn't bear my weight and snapped all at once. I couldn't tell if those 2 snipers were too accurate or too lousy. In the darkness, after 2 gunshots, the figure under the parachute crashed to the ground with a cry. Got him. He'll go check it out. You keep an eye on that high ground. Han Jiro said in a commanding tone. Got it, Sergeant Han Jiro. Watch out. Don't let the souvenir bite your teeth off. Tony replied sourly, his rank lower than Han Jiro's, so he had to obey. Don't be so jealous. If I find something good, we'll split it evenly. That's more like it. Hey, Han Jiro, did you find anything good? Hey, Han Jiro, answer me. Han Jiro, he's dead. You're next. A cold, unfamiliar voice replied from the communicator. I snapped the neck of the fellow who came to investigate, for I loathed those who ambushed me. The other sniper, sensing the situation deteriorating, attempted to retreat. Just as he rose, a burst of fire erupted from the high ground to his left front. He hastily threw himself to the ground, but it was too late. The projectile pierced his body, the immense impact lifting his nearly severed torso, twisting it unnaturally in the air before it crashed to the ground. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. It seemed that those on the high ground might be allies. I picked up the weapon of the sniper I had eliminated and cautiously crept towards the unknown rise ahead. Halt! Who are you? A voice rang out from the grass-covered slope in the darkness, sounding familiar and pleasant to the ear. Don't shoot. I am Corporal Dugu Zhan of the Imperial Strategic Train Xingyun. I mean no harm. As I announced my identity, I prepared to surrender. Having been in the army for less than 10 days, the Empire and the Federation forces seemed much the same to me, so I couldn't be sure. Perhaps the 2 snipers I had just killed were actually Imperial troops. Thus, if the situation turned unfavorable, I would surrender. First, because I was truly exhausted. Second, in my heart, being a soldier was merely a means to earn a living, so it didn't matter which side I was on. If worst came to worst, I could at least take a few with me using my weapon, but I had no idea how to use the damn Dugu Zhan. Aren't you that chubby kid? The other party asked in surprise. You? Dr. Yun, what are you doing here? At that moment, I suddenly recalled who the owner of that pleasant voice was. Forcing down the urge to turn and flee, I asked with a trembling voice. What are you doing here? Yunya asked simultaneously. I was blown here by the wind. Explaining how I ended up here was truly difficult, as I was also utterly confused. Why of all places did I have to end up in front of this terrifying female military doctor? Enemies. Follow me. Although Yunya did not understand what Dugu Zhan meant, the current situation left no time for questions. The brief skirmish had attracted new foes. In the darkness, a clanking sound drifted with the wind from afar. Through her night vision device, Yunya spotted a phantom rat, light mech cautiously approaching the high ground under the cover of night. This light mech boasted high mobility and excellent concealment, making it a favorite among Federation scouts. Due to its limited payload, it lacked heavy firepower, only equipped with a universal electromagnetic rifle for mechs or similar light weapons. But the appearance of such a reconnaissance mech often heralded the arrival of a large-scale assault force behind it. Sigh, if only that kid had appeared earlier. After sending Xiao Fei to escort the wounded and unconscious sergeant they had found by the roadside back to the train, Yunya proceeded alone along the road. The sergeant, before slipping into complete unconsciousness, had muttered, save our officer, he's up ahead." Yunya thought it wouldn't be far, but after walking 4 or 5 kilometers, she finally spotted a destroyed military vehicle in the wilderness, having apparently hit a mine while turning from the wild onto the road. Approaching the still-smoking vehicle, she saw the wounded officer captain. Checking his pulse, she found its. Yunya looked around for help, only to realize that her people had somehow withdrawn without a trace, leaving her alone in the desolate wilderness with the wounded captain. After bandaging the captain's wounds, Yunya dragged him to a concealed spot in the woods and hid him, planning to But before she could leave the woods, she saw swarms of mechs flying overhead, and intense gunfire erupted from the direction of Alpha A7 station. Damn, they were surrounded. As dusk fell, she encountered a squad of imperial soldiers who had failed to retreat in time and were being pursued. Yunya followed them to this small high ground. Upon reaching the top, they discovered a cliff behind them. With no choice, they had to rely on the high ground to fight off the pursuers. The pursuers were repelled, but everyone on the high ground except Yunya was wounded. In their eyes, protecting the medic meant protecting their own lives, for only with life could they escape. Moreover, it was not yet time to let a girl protect them. They had planned to leave when the enemy was beaten back, but snipers blocked their way, leaving them at a loss until nightfall. If not for Dugu Zhan's sudden descent, she and these dozen or so people would have been trapped on the high ground by the snipers. But this heaven-sent fellow seemed to have arrived a step too late, as enemy reinforcements also arrived in time. Perhaps there was still a chance. Yunya scanned the area with her night vision device, but found nothing. If she could eliminate that phantom rat in front, they could safely evacuate from here. Cover me. If there's a chance, everyone proceeds as planned. Yunya called back, then threw a jamming grenade down the high ground. Under the cover of the jamming smoke, she grabbed an anti-armor rocket launcher and vanished into the darkness. The jamming grenade released smoke while also emitting interference, temporarily disabling the phantom rat's detection radar. Cover. But Hearing the shout, I didn't understand at first. Seeing the wounded soldiers lying scattered on the high ground, I realized she meant me to provide cover. But I had never used a sniper rifle. In a panic, I spotted a DLA-10 pistol at the waist of a wounded captain lying on the ground. I grabbed it, discarded the sniper rifle, and followed her down the high ground. A flash of light in the distance, followed by a dull thud. A beam of light pierced the night, stretching like a red-hot iron wire, revealing the silhouette of a slim, humanoid mech in the glare. The extending line of light in the air reached the mech in an instant. Hit. The light from the explosion quickly faded, and everything returned to darkness. I still felt uneasy. It was too dark around to confirm the result of the strike. Just as I lay in the grass, hesitating whether to advance or return to the high ground, a flare rose into the night. The humanoid mech had not been destroyed. The previous attack had only blown off one of its arms. Now, with its remaining arm holding a gun, it scanned for suspicious targets using the flare's light through its optical system. Less than 20 meters from the mech, a figure played a dangerous game of hide-and-seek, with the mech using the terrain and wild grass for cover. In the distance, more silhouettes were moving closer. The mech soon spotted the figure desperately trying to get into its blind spot. The mech shifted, aiming its gun at them. Before it could aim, there was a clang, and the mech shuddered. Someone was attacking from a distance. Damn, what the hell is this? The projectile fired from the DLA-10 struck the mech's armor with negligible effect, merely sparking a few tiny flames, far from the devastating power I had felt when I first used it. However, it successfully drew the mech's attention. I quickly checked the DLA-10. Its power output was only 50, no wonder it was weak. I clicked it up to full power, aimed at the mech's neck joint, and pulled the trigger. In fact, the combat power output of many infantry weapons, including the DLA-10, was set at 50. Their effective ranges were also measured at half power. These weapons were a hybrid between lasers and gunpowder-based projectile weapons using powerful electromagnetic energy to accelerate projectiles. Excessive energy not only severely damaged the weapon, but could also harm the user. Therefore, half power was generally used to ensure both efficiency and lifespan. When high power was necessary, corresponding auxiliary devices like shock absorbers could be installed. Unfortunately, I didn't know that. The powerful recoil numbed my hands again, but this time I was mentally prepared. The projectile shot out, accurately blasting off the mech's head and shoulder area entirely. I breathed a sigh of relief as the humanoid machine crashed to the ground. A burning pain shot through my left cheek. I raised my hand and touched it. It was wet. Bringing my hand before my eyes, I saw it was stained with blood. It seemed that when I launched my attack, the humanoid machine had also opened fire, but its aim was slightly off, and it even had the audacity to try to blow my head off. Or perhaps it was because my head was too small. The 8.5-ton mass on my neck was far less conspicuous than the iron lump on the humanoid machine's neck. So I kept my head, but the bullet wind grazing my cheek left a scar. Too thin-skinned. My beautiful youth, my lovely face, all ruined. I hope I won't end up with an ugly wife in the future. I muttered to myself without pausing, and in a few strides I dashed to Dr. Yun's hiding place. Yunya's face was slightly pale. She had exhausted all her energy avoiding the attacks of the phantom rat. Fortunately, the phantom rat was destroyed in time, or she would have been done for. While she was catching her breath, a figure suddenly pounced beside her, startling her. Just as she was about to reach for the assault rifle slung over her shoulder, she heard the newcomer repeatedly say, "Don't shoot, don't shoot, it's me, it's me, it's me." "What? It's really you?" Yunya suddenly asked a strange question. "Didn't you ask me to cover for you?" I replied with a bit of irritation. What did she mean by really you? It's as if. I'll forget it. Oh, is that so? Hurry and retreat, there's no time if we don't leave now. I can't run anymore. They'll stay and hold off those enemies. You take the wounded on the high ground and get out quickly. It's better for one to die than for everyone to die. No, I refused without hesitation. That's an order. If you don't leave, they'll shoot you dead. Dr. Yun swung the muzzle of her assault rifle sideways and pressed it against my chest. Damn, why always talk about dying? Live. If we can't win, we can just surrender. In my view, surrender was— What did you say? Dr. Yun obviously didn't hear me clearly because many weapons were firing in this direction, bullets whizzing overhead. But I still clearly sensed that when I uttered the word surrender, Dr. Yun almost pulled the trigger. No, I would never surrender even if I were killed, rest assured. Get lost. I don't want to see you again. Dr. Yun shouted at me. Hey, that sounded a bit ambiguous, but given the situation there was no time to think about that. I saw the muzzle of Dr. Yun's gun shift slightly, and without hesitation I seized the opportunity and threw a punch to knock her unconscious. Although hitting a girl is wrong, hitting a tigress shouldn't be wrong, especially in a life-or-death emergency. Then Actually, it was nothing much. I fished out 2 demolition grenades from my equipment pouch, and in the instant the flare died out, raised my hand and threw them. The enemy infantrymen who were quickly closing in saw this and immediately hit the ground to take cover. Without a moment's pause, I hoisted the unconscious Dr. Yun onto my shoulder and took off at a sprint. But the explosion didn't come from behind. Could it be that I hadn't pulled? What was it? Whatever. As long as the enemy didn't chase after me. I didn't know that the Federal infantrymen lying on the ground had mistaken the 2 non-exploding demolition grenades for delayed action, high-energy proton grenades. Thus, they didn't dare to get up for a long time while I just kept running wildly and soon disappeared into the darkness. My swift disappearance further confirmed the Federal infantrymen's suspicions. Some soldiers near the 2 grenades crawled on all fours as far away as possible to get out of the potential blast radius. If it were daytime, they might have been able to throw the 2 grenades back at the enemy. But now it was night, and no one was sure they could quickly find the grenades in the wild grass. The effective kill radius of a high-energy proton grenade was up to 10 meters. Any living thing within that range would be either dead or injured. It also had a certain lethality for unprotected personnel within 10 to 50 meters. Therefore, this grenade was a nightmare for infantry. If you encountered one, all you could do was pray to heaven that you could run far enough before the explosion. Because of its immense power, the high-energy proton grenade was not suitable for close combat. A careless mistake could blow yourself up. So an adjustable timing device was installed on it, allowing soldiers to set the explosion time according to the actual situation to ensure their own safety. As a result, many soldiers used it as a time bomb. Although the high-energy proton grenade was not suitable for close combat, it was a good weapon for breaking out and curbing the pursuit of enemy infantry. Here, over here. I was carrying Yunya and heading toward the high ground when I heard someone shouting from the grass on the right side of the high ground. Following the sound, I saw that it was the dozen or so wounded soldiers. They had taken advantage of the previous battle to retreat from the high ground on their own and were waiting for me and Dr. Yun to return so we could move out. What happened to Second Lieutenant Yun? The wounded soldiers asked with concern when they saw Dr. Yun carried on my It's nothing. She just passed out from exhaustion. She'll be fine in a while. Let's hurry up and leave. Can you all walk? I quickly explained and urged everyone to move. Don't worry, no problem. Although we can't fight, we can still walk and carry people. Leave Second Lieutenant Yun to us, one wounded soldier said, pretending to be relaxed. No need. I'm fine. Let's go quickly. My eyes welled up, and for a moment I didn't know what to say, just mechanically urging them on. What high-energy proton grenade? Those are just ordinary demolition grenades. The mecha squad that arrived behind the infantry found the two so-called high-energy proton grenades. Report to Captain, we have occupied the high ground and detected traces of the enemy. Should we continue pursuit? Defend in place. We'll pursue at dawn. They can't have gone far. The captain, who had been about to order pursuit, immediately changed his mind when he saw the destroyed phantom rat. He suddenly understood why the infantrymen had mistaken the demolition grenades for high-energy proton grenades. If he himself had seen the scene of the phantom rat being destroyed, he would have thought they were proton grenades too. It was only natural for the enemy, who possessed the firepower to instantly destroy a phantom rat, to have high-energy proton grenades. It would be strange if they didn't. He didn't want to engage a powerful enemy at night. Who knew what kind of ambush they might set? He would have to wait for new reconnaissance mechas to arrive before attacking. A gentle, cool breeze in the early morning carried bursts of melodious bird songs, waking Yunya from her sleep. "Ah, you're awake, do you want?" The moment Yunya opened her eyes, she saw a face she abhorred right before her. At that moment, she loathed the guy in front of her. How dare he knock her out to surrender? She might have already become a prisoner. Thinking of this with gnashing teeth, Yunya raised her foot and kicked at the face. But because they were too close, she didn't hit the face, but she did land a solid kick on the guy's chest. Seeing Dr. Yun awake, I hurried over to show some concern. Unexpectedly, it felt like a hammer struck my chest, a great force, sending me staggering backward a few steps from my crouching position. Unable to steady myself, I fell with a thud, and a suffocating pressure in my chest made me spit out a mouthful of blood. "Hey, what's wrong? Are you okay?" Several wounded soldiers who were preparing breakfast saw me suddenly fall to the ground and hurried over to help me up. "It's nothing, you continue with your work." I waved my hand repeatedly to indicate that everything was fine. You have also been captured." Yunya, seeing the situation, couldn't process it for a moment. "Second Lieutenant, you're awake. We escaped last night. Now we're planning to go around the front line and return. It should take about 2 days to find our own people," one wounded soldier said, not noticing anything odd about her question. "Ah, good. You go about your business." Yunya finally understood the current situation. As I was about to dodge far away when I saw Yunya's gaze sweeping over, I had just turned around when I heard someone behind me ask. I shuddered. No, I'm so strong, how could I be injured? While hastily denying, I quickened my pace and slipped behind a tree, hoping to vanish from the terrifying female military doctor's sight as soon as possible. Fortunately, we had chosen to camp in the woods, otherwise it would have been really hard to find a place to hide. Watching Dugu Zhan's figure disappear behind the tree, and then looking at the pool of undried blood on the ground, Yunya felt an inexplicable ache in her heart. "I'm sorry, I misunderstood you in many ways before." "Oh, what? No, how could you misunderstand?" Yes, I don't mind." Yunya's apology startled me. I was about to say that she hadn't misunderstood at all, but then I thought that didn't sound right, so I quickly changed my words to say I didn't mind. "You're injured, let me take a look." "No, really, I'm not." "Look in the mirror at your helmet." "It's just a minor scratch on my face, it's already scabbing over." Hearing this, I hurriedly took off my helmet and saw that one side had been sliced off. Now, it couldn't even cover my ear. No wonder my ear felt chilly after the facial wound. "What about your chest?" Dr. Yin said as she reached out and pressed against my chest. "Hiss. Really, it's nothing. Ouch, it's just that I broke a few ribs when I fell off the train." I didn't dare to block her hand, and when she touched the old injury, I had to confess. Rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat-tat. While Dr. Yun was treating my wound, a burst of intense gunfire came faintly. Everyone froze, and several wounded soldiers who could still move grabbed their weapons. "Dr. Yun, let me go check it out." Although her hands were very gentle at the moment, I was still terrified inside. Seizing this opportunity, I naturally couldn't let it go, so I eagerly volunteered to investigate. "Wait a moment, almost done." Yunya shot me a glare, so I had to obediently stay still and not dare to move. "All right, from now on you can call me by my name, Yunya. Go scout ahead. If there are people, try to rescue them. If not, retreat quickly and think of another plan. Your helmet is useless, take mine." Yunya finished treating my wound, took off her helmet, and handed it to me. "This doesn't seem right," I hesitated. "It's fine, I'm just looking after the wounded. Anyway, this thing isn't of much use to me." "Then thank you very much." I took the helmet and a faint fragrance wafted over, refreshing me. "Corporal, take this. This thing is way more powerful than the DLA-10. A wounded sergeant handed me a sniper rifle. I don't know how to use it," I said, my face flushing. The sergeant was stunned, but fortunately Yunya reacted quickly. She took the sniper rifle, made a few brief movements, and said succinctly, "Load the magazine, and change the energy cell like this, aim and shoot like this. This is the scope, this is the auto-aim activation button. I've already turned it on for you. Just lock onto the target and fire." Got it. Got it. So that's how easy it is. I'm off to scout. Catching the sniper rifle Yunya tossed to me, I turned and ran toward the increasingly intense gunfire. Can he make it? The dazed sergeant snapped back to reality and asked Yunya with an incredulous look. He should be fine. Yunya replied, not entirely confident either. Over the undulating and rugged terrain, 7 flying soldiers carrying portable jetpacks were advancing. This area was originally full of hills and ravines unsuitable for high-speed flight by flying soldiers. Yet those 7 men, instead of maintaining altitude to avoid the terrain affecting flight safety, deliberately flew as low as possible, racing through countless obstacles with exceptional flying skills. Behind them, dozens of similarly equipped flying soldiers were in hot pursuit. But the pursuers' flying skills were clearly inferior to those of the leading group. From time to time, a flying soldier flying too low would collide with an obstacle, and a couple of unlucky ones would detonate the fuel in their jetpacks, turning into fireballs on the spot. The ones running ahead looked like they might be from the Empire. Through the sniper scope, I saw a familiar emblem on the jetpack shells of the 7 fleeing flying soldiers, very similar to an armband on my own protective suit. I glanced sideways. Yes, exactly the same. Prince Lancer, under the protection of his guards, had fled all night. By dawn, only 6 of his 12 guards remained, and they still hadn't shaken off the Federation's flying soldier company. Though the night had cost the Federation flying soldier company more than half its men, the enemy showed no sign of retreating. It was clear that if they kept fleeing like this, they would eventually run out of fuel and become prisoners. Suddenly, with a loud boom, a Federation flying soldier who had been flying smoothly exploded in midair. Before either side could figure out what was happening, another Federation flying soldier turned into a fireball and crashed to the ground. An ambush. The flying soldier company immediately split off a portion of their forces to deal with the ambushers. Seeing a dozen flying soldiers heading in my direction, I calmly locked the scope onto the leader and pulled the trigger. I never imagined the sniper rifle could be so lethal. Almost one shot, one kill. Once locked on, no one could escape. The leading Federation flying soldier was hit in a vital spot, and his out-of-control jetpack tumbled through the air a few times before crashing headfirst into the ground. Before the scattering flying soldiers could readjust their course, 2 more were shot down. Prince Lancer, seeing reinforcements, immediately led his remaining guards in a counterattack. The Federation flying company clearly hadn't expected the Empire's flying soldiers, who had been fleeing like beaten dogs, to dare launch a counterattack. In the chaos, several more were taken down. In the skirmish, 2 guards were shot down while protecting the prince, but the Federation flying soldiers were also reduced to single digits. The surviving Federation flying soldiers, seeing the situation, turned sour, turned tail, and fled. After shooting down the last locked-on flying soldier, I put away the sniper rifle and climbed down from the tree where I had been hiding. The 5 surviving Empire flying soldiers flew over. "Hey, it's you." One of the approaching Empire flying soldiers exclaimed in surprise. "Do I know you?" "I'm Prince Lancer. If I'm not mistaken, you're Corporal Dugu from the Chungyun, right?" "Huh, yes, that's me." Facing Prince Lancer, who had taken off his flight helmet, I gave an awkward smile. "God bless. I hope the prince is a magnanimous person." "Amen." Watching the prince's meaningful eyes flickering over me, I couldn't help but pray silently in my heart. "Are you alone?" "No, there are 15 of us in total, 13 wounded, 1 medic and me. The camp is nearby. Would you like to rest there, Your Highness?" I was well aware of Prince Lancer's current predicament and was certain he wouldn't come with me. Although from the perspective of the wounded, I also hoped for fresh troops to join us. The prince at this moment surely didn't want to be slowed down. Besides, I didn't want to be a meat shield either, so I emphasized 13 wounded. "Take me to your camp," Lancer said without any hesitation. "What?" I couldn't believe my ears, probably still shaken from last night. "Your Highness." The guards following Lancer also had objections, but Lancer waved them off. "Corporal Dugu, lead the way." "Oh, all right. Who is your commander?" "Commander?" I thought about it. Through the night, I had been the one pointing and ordering, but now I didn't want to take that burden on myself. Among the dozen or so wounded, I only saw one whose shoulder insignia was the same as Captain Luokas. The others didn't seem as eye-catching as Yun Yas. That should mean the captain was the commander. From my experience these days as a soldier, I knew that higher-ranking officers could command lower-ranking ones, but lower-ranking officers definitely couldn't command higher-ranking ones. But that captain was wounded and unconscious, so he couldn't really be commanding. That left Second Lieutenant Yunya. That must be her. Yeah, it's Second Lieutenant Yunya. Second Lieutenant Yunya, the female medic from the Chungyun. She's here too. Yes, she's the one who sent me out to scout, which is how I ran into you all. With questions and answers, I led Lancer and his group to the camp in no time. Yunya was startled to see that I had brought back Prince Lancer. "Lon, Colonel Landis of the Imperial Flying Corps, honored to meet you." Lancer quickly cut off Yunya's words. "Colonel, welcome. We're in need of help right now. Are you the commander here? I suppose so. Can you take over my command, Colonel Landis? All right, leave it to me. I hope you can safely get everyone out. After taking command, Colonel Landis immediately ordered his guards to deploy detectors and scan the surroundings. The detector relayed bad news. A large force of Federation soldiers was moving in this direction. They are chasing us. Colonel, if you have more important tasks to carry out, it is still not too late to leave now. Yenya gazed at the signals transmitted by the detectors on the miniature battlefield information system being operated by the prince's bodyguards and addressed Prince Langster, who called himself Colonel Landis. To be honest, I was desperately hoping that Prince Langster would leave as soon as possible. He would be the perfect bait to... The enemy hasn't pinpointed our location yet. We must move immediately. Pack up your gear and set off at once. You'll assist with the wounded. Prince Langster had no intention of abandoning the wounded to save himself. However, before long we were once again surrounded by the Federation forces on a high ground. The Federation forces did not rush to attack, but instead deployed heavy artillery to bombard the high ground. How many enemy troops are there? Prince Langster asked during a lull in the shelling connecting to the lookout stationed outside the mine. 3 mecha squads, 2 reconnaissance mechas, 9 assault mechas, 6 heavy mechas, and 1 infantry battalion, the lookout reported promptly. It was a small mine shaft dug by a clandestine miner located by the prince's guards using detectors. The space was not large, slightly cramped for more than a dozen people, but sturdy enough. The Federation's artillery bombardment sent rocks flying everywhere, yet it could not harm the mine. The entrance to the mine was hidden behind a large boulder on the high ground, and such rocks were strewn everywhere. What weapons do we have? Prince Langster asked the bodyguard beside him. 7 assault rifles, 1 sniper rifle, and 10 DLA-10s. Modified, their firepower would be quite impressive, but reliability is questionable. The sniper rifle could also be modified, but without the necessary auxiliary parts no one would be able to use it. Also, there are 2 anti-armor rockets and some grenades left. The bodyguard glanced at everyone's equipment and replied, "Are there any high-energy proton mines? We only have 1 left here. I don't know about them." "What do you mean, them and us? We are all Imperial soldiers. Now is the time to unite." "Yes, Colonel. I was wrong. He'll go ask." The bodyguard's inquiry predictably yielded none. "Modify the sniper rifle. He'll use it," the prince decided after a moment's thought, not harboring much hope for the proton mine. "Colonel, that won't do. The recoil is too strong. Leave it to us." The bodyguard naturally disagreed with Langster's suggestion. "I can handle it." "Absolutely not." Stop arguing. The sniper rifle is mine. He'll take it. I'm tough-skinned and can withstand it." Unable to bear the endless bickering between the prince and his bodyguard, I interjected. "You?" The prince looked at me with a puzzled expression. "Let him handle it." I saw with my own eyes that he used a DLA-10 without any auxiliary equipment to destroy a mole. As soon as Yenya said this, a gasp of surprise arose from everyone in the mine. Seeing the look of dawning realization on Prince Langster's face, I suddenly felt like a prey caught in a trap. My struggles were futile, and I could only wait quietly for the hunter's disposal. "The enemy is coming up." "Wait, why are they retreating?" The lookout's communication came through again, but with a hint of confusion. Everyone who could move rushed out of the mine to see what was happening. "Are you still willing to be his man? If not, I'll take on that role." Yenya, who had fallen behind, asked Prince Langster, who was also lagging. I thought you would still object." Langster chuckled. "They're our own people. Our reinforcements are here." Cheers erupted from outside the mine. On November 11th, Imperial year 331, the Imperial headquarters on the Hephaestion Star replaced the original commander of the Takahan Theater, Lieutenant General Salver, who had retreated in the face of the enemy and withdrawn without authorization, appointing Deputy Commander Lieutenant General Lin Jiasen as the new commander. He led the 4th and 11th Army groups along with the 1st and 3rd Army groups under the headquarters to launch a counterattack. In truth, even if Lieutenant General Salvar had no achievements, he would have been blameless if he had managed to rescue Prince Langster. At the final moment, Salvar, unwilling to see his military forces completely annihilated and valuing his own life above all, issued the order to retreat to save his skin. However, he also harbored the hope that 2 mecha battalions and 1 infantry battalion would be enough to rescue Prince Langster. Yet the unexpected turn of events caught everyone off guard. The frustrated Federation forces, unable to execute their annihilation plan, vented their anger on the 3 battalions sent to rescue Prince Langster in the no man's land. With the prize slipping from their grasp, they could not let go of the meat that had come to their lips. The Federation's Hephaestion Defense Force amassed a large force and wiped out those 3 battalions in the Tucker no man's land. Thus the result was that the prince was not rescued, and Salvar was branded with the crime of retreating in the face of the enemy and withdrawing without authorization. The Empire's counterattack was timely, rescuing the embattled Prince Langster from his dire situation. The Takahan Theater, which had been under Federation occupation for less than 30 hours, changed hands again. To avoid being encircled by the Empire, the Federation forces quickly withdrew. They came swiftly and left even faster. The imperial forces advancing with overwhelming force found themselves unable to fully exert their strength. They followed the retreating Federation forces, managing to push the front line nearly 100 kilometers forward after retaking the Takahan Theater, only stopping reluctantly when they encountered fierce resistance from the Federation. Lieutenant Dugu. Lieutenant Dugu. Dugu Zhan. Captain, were you calling me? Seeing Captain Wall's displeased expression fixed on me, I realized that those calls were indeed directed at me. But when had I become a lieutenant? Lieutenant Dugu, here is your commission and medal. You are now a lieutenant. You don't have to do this work anymore. Prince Leinster wants you to come to his private carriage. Is there something? I asked. How would I know? Hurry up and go. You're done with this work. It had been nearly 2 days since we returned to the Chongyun. I was working as before in the newly assigned dining car of the Chongyun. Because Sangsong's hands needed at least a week to recover, I was promoted to temporary head chef. Although the dining car had automatic cooking machines, the dishes they made lacked character, so human help was still needed for ingredient preparation and seasoning. Though I was a novice, with the help of the cooking machine, I managed to produce passable results. Moreover, Sangsong occasionally sneaked out from the field hospital to guide me. One day when I returned to the village, I could open a restaurant, if the villagers are willing. I set down my work, wiped my hands, took the scroll and a small brocade box that Captain Wall handed me, and without even looking at them, hurried to Langster's private carriage. Langster, do you know how many mistakes you made this time? Yes, Your Majesty, I do. Good. You need to change your habit of letting emotions rule you. You were lucky this time not to be buried with those wounded soldiers, but you won't be so fortunate next time. Remember, don't act on impulse. Your own safety comes first. I still need your help. Yes, Your Majesty. Won't you call me brother? Your Majesty, I sigh. Remember to protect yourself. I don't want to lose my only brother. As the figure on the screen disappeared, the interstellar line was cut off. Langster withdrew his gaze and sighed. He wished he could, but the words just wouldn't come out. Tom would have to heal everything. Highness, he is here, a bodyguard announced after knocking and entering. How is his mood? Not very cheerful, it seems. Oh, let him in. After receiving permission, I entered the newly assigned private carriage's office, feeling quite displeased. What the hell? Is he coming to see me, or am I coming to see him? And I still need permission. I muttered under my breath, but I still remembered my manners and raised my hand in a sloppy salute. Please have a seat. Do you know why I called you here? Prince Langster nodded, gesturing for me to sit. Thank you, sir. No, sir. But I have some items to return to you, sir. While saying sir, I didn't keep my hands idle. I stepped forward to the desk in front of Prince Langster and placed the scroll and the small brocade box on it. Since when did you learn to call people sir? Langster was quite surprised by Dugu Zhan's tone. How had this guy picked up the habit of saying sir every other word? Reporting sir, I learned it a long time ago. Although I had picked up the sir habit during the past 2 days of purchasing supplies, I wasn't about to tell the truth. Since there was no way to check, I could just say that. The supplies on the Qingyun had suffered heavy losses during the escape. Since I had been promoted to temporary head chef and the captain had ordered better meals during the respite, I had been out and about a lot. And every time I went out, I ran into plenty of people with more stars and bars on their shoulders than I had, so naturally, I developed the good habit of calling everyone sir. What does this mean? Don't you want them? Prince Langster pointed at the items I had placed on the desk. Yes, sir. I'm just an ordinary person who did what I could. I don't deserve these things. Please, sir, bestow them upon someone more worthy. No way. Did they think a few trinkets like this would make me sell my life? Not a chance. Very well. Now let's talk about sending you to the Cardell Military Academy for training. When do you plan to depart? Langster put the commission and the brocade box into a drawer. Sir, may I ask if I can refuse? Training. That probably meant going there to study. Damn, they might as well kill me. Refuse. Haven't you heard? The Cardell Military Academy is the dream of every imperial Sorry, sir, I haven't heard of it. I'm sure what you say is true, but it is definitely not my dream, sir. Garson, come in for a moment. Prince Langster called out, and a bodyguard entered. Show Lieutenant Dugu some basic skills you learned at Cardell. Keep it simple. The prince instructed. Yes, Highness. Garson took the order, glanced around the room, then dragged a steel-framed chair from beside the door and placed it in front of me. Without any visible effort, he raised his hand and chopped down on the chair's back. The sturdy steel frame twisted into a heap of scrap metal. Excellent. You may leave. With the prince's praise, Garson saluted and withdrew. Looking at the twisted wreck of the chair, I curled my lip inwardly. That was destruction, not creation. And that was my chair to sit on. Now I'd have to stand the whole time. How about it? Impressive, isn't it? Don't you want to be as powerful as him? Prince Langster pointed at the twisted chair, continuing his persuasion. No, sir. I answered resolutely and decisively. Don't you want to become a general commanding thousands of troops like me? No, sir. The idea of commanding thousands of troops was indeed tempting, but I had no desire to end up like Prince Langster, fleeing like a hunted rabbit. Don't you want to protect the ones you love most? Prince Langster was running out of arguments. Sir, I haven't even fallen. As the conversation continued, my eyes, which had been fixed straight ahead, could no longer resist roaming about slyly, taking in the luxurious decorations of the prince's office, the gilded ceiling, the silver thread wallpaper, the carpet as soft as a verdant meadow. I couldn't help but sigh inwardly. People are truly different. Even a small office of a prince is adorned with such opulence. No wonder there are so many beggars on the streets. What does that matter? Aren't your parents and siblings the ones you love most? Sir, those are people I love, but not the ones I love most. There is only one person I love most, and there can only be one. If there were more than two, I think it could no longer be called most. Sir, please be careful with your wording. I rattled on, but my gaze suddenly caught sight of something interesting on the prince's desk. You? Prince Lanster was momentarily at a loss for words. Training at the Cater Military Academy could not be forced, but the prince was reluctant to give up on a potential talent. Though at the moment the fellow seemed more like a fool. Such an opportunity, if presented to others, would have them laughing in their dreams. Lanster no longer wished to engage in a pedantic debate about wording with the man who should be renamed Spring. Lanster understood that although he could provide ample examples to prove that most did not necessarily mean only one, doing so would likely be futile and time-consuming. As expected, Prince Lanster heard Dugu Zhan continue after a pause, and sir, I believe everyone should protect themselves. Closing his eyes in thought, Prince Lanster opened them and followed Dugu Zhan's gaze. So that's it. Closing his eyes in thought, Prince Lanster opened them and followed Dugu Zhan's gaze. So that's it. This kid is just like me at heart. This should be easier. Watching where Dugu Zhan's eyes were fixed, Prince Lanster immediately devised a plan. It was an exquisitely detailed mecha model placed on the prince's desk as an ornament. All sorts of equipment were fully replicated on the miniature mecha. I stared at it without blinking until a hand picked it up, snapping me back to my senses. You like this model? I'll give it to you. Prince Lanster handed the model to me. No. That wouldn't be right, sir. Take it. It's a gift between friends. If you hadn't appeared in time in the Tahican war zone, I might be lying in a grave now. This little token is a small repayment for saving my life. Prince Lanster said with great sincerity. Since you put it that way, it would be impolite to refuse again. I'll take it. Thank you, sir. Don't mention it. I have something better. Look at this. Prince Lanster took a flat, round medallion from around his neck and showed it to me in his palm. The medallion glittered gold, dazzling to the eyes. On it was carved a lifelike, shaped golden dragon. Nothing else seemed particularly remarkable. Just as I was wondering what Prince Lanster wanted me to see, a beam of light gleamed from the dragon's eyes, slowly rising about 2 feet before spreading out from the dragon's pupils. A three-dimensional holographic image appeared before me. How do you feel? I can't describe it. Is it beautiful? Beautiful. Is it nice? Do you want to own a mecha like this? You can give it to me. That's great. Where is it now? I'll go get it myself. This Outyin is my personal ride. It was custom-made for me by Huantian Group, one of the 9 largest mecha manufacturers in the universe. So I can't give it to you. If you want your own mecha, you'll have to earn it yourself. How? Go to the Cater Military Academy for training. Is there another way? What do you think? If you don't want your own mecha, forget it. Just say the word. Do you want it or no? I do. Is that a no or a yes? I can buy several myself when I have money. Yes, all those cheap, worthless pieces of junk you can pick up anywhere. Take the one in your hand. It's the latest assault mecha from St. Philo Corporation, priced around 3 million. Even as a captain, your annual allowance is less than 30,000. Even if you didn't eat or drink, it would take you 100 years to afford a decent mecha like that. If you go to Cater for training, I promise that as long as you get in a level mecha license, they'll give you a state-of-the-art mecha custom made for you. With your real skills, that should be a walk in the park. You're not lacking confidence in yourself, are you? Prince Lanster used both carrot and stick, piling on the pressure. Alright, I've decided. Remember what you said today. When the time comes, I'll come get my mecha within a level license. I said through gritted teeth. Good. When do you plan to leave? The sooner the better. Then it's settled. Go pack your things. I've already arranged a ship to take you there. They'll have someone pick you up. Damn, that was a bit too fast, but it suited me. Now I'm probably even more eager than Lanster. I wish I could get to the Cater Military Academy today, get my level license tomorrow, and have my own mecha the day after. Though excited, I didn't forget proper etiquette. I saluted Prince Lanster and withdrew. After watching Dugu Zhan leave, Lanster looked up a number on his personal computer and made an interstellar call. I am Prince Lanster. I want to speak to your president. The secretary on the other end sprinted at full speed into the president's office. A nervous, middle-aged man appeared on the communication screen. Your Highness, it's an honor to see you. How may my company serve you? You are Philo Jones, president of St. Philo Corporation. Yes, Your Highness. Good. I've reviewed your new mecha. It's decent. You can go to the Imperial Procurement Department to discuss the corresponding purchase. They'll inform them. That's wonderful. I don't know how to thank you, Your Highness. Philo Jones said, his voice trembling. Forget the thanks. Just don't make mecha models so realistic that they leak secrets, and don't have them placed as ornaments on my desk. If anything like that happens again, I'll invite you to the Judiciary Department as a guest. From now on, just send the relevant parameters and performance indicators for new models. I'll station a liaison officer at your company. Yes, 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 yes. Under Prince Lanster's stern tone, St. Philo's president could only keep nodding. Come in. Prince Lanster had just hung up the interstellar call when he heard a knock. He called out, and a guard entered carrying a large folder. Have all the data been analyzed? Lanster took the folder. Yes, Your Highness. The results aren't very promising. Only a 9.7 probability. So low. Are you sure it's correct? Yes. Although he joined the Galactic Guild on high means early, his completion rate over 6 years has been below 30. We believe his abilities need further evaluation. If he hadn't assisted you in capturing the infamous interstellar fugitive, his rating would likely be only 0.7. I see. Is there any other information? Could his membership in the Galactic Guild add some weight? No. As far as we know, he wasn't the youngest to join the guild. However, the TNC analysis team discovered another interesting person from the data gathered on high means. They rated him very highly, 73. The team recommends finding him. Oh, what kind of person is he? All we know is that he goes by Yi. All other personal data is blank. He joined the Dark Guild on high means a year later than Dugu Zhan, and over the past 5 years his mission completion rate was 100. But he disappeared 6 months ago. Interesting. Someone like that is hard to find if you go looking. He'll show up when he wants to. Don't waste time searching. Is the list I requested ready? Yes, all elites selected from various departments. Forgive my impertinence, but I believe any one of them is far superior to Dugu Zhan. Perhaps. But you haven't seen the look in his eyes when he stares at a mecha. Becoming an S-level license holder requires more than just strength. The Nightlight Corridor was the only passage through the Nightlight asteroid belt. The Federation occupied the only planet in the corridor, Moon King, and established a material transfer base there. Most military supplies from various Federation planets were gathered here, then redistributed to the Federation's outer space fleets. Thus Moon King held immense strategic importance. On November 12, Imperial Year 331, a Federation patrol cruiser was carrying out its routine patrol in the Moon King star domain. Several bright spots glided through the deep, tranquil, starry sky, silently slipping into the patrol cruiser's path. The Federation cruiser, caught off guard, tried to evade, but it was too late. The hull shattered under the continuous assault, turning into a ball of fire. Thus began the Empire's surprise attack on the Federation's Moon King. The Federation patrol ship was destroyed, and the reconnaissance satellites around Moon King star detected the Imperial fleet, which was already less than 10,000 kilometers away. The Moon King star garrison fleet hastily ascended, but before they could form battle formations, they were routed by the Imperial fleet. Had it not been for the tens of thousands of fighters and mecha launched from 3 space carriers, the Imperial fleet might have taken Moon King star in a single assault. 6,000 Imperial high-speed warships, entangled by Federation fighters and mecha, formed a spherical formation and steadily advanced toward Moon King star. To ensure surprise and speed, the Imperial raiding fleet did not equip slower space carriers. Although the high-speed warships carried a small number of mecha, their numbers were negligible compared to the Federation's tens of thousands of fighters and mecha. Moreover, occupying Moon King star would depend on those mecha. Pre-battle intelligence for the Imperial raiding fleet indicated no Federation carriers near Moon King star. How did they appear during the battle? And 3 of them. The Imperial fleet commander watched the mecha swarms gradually devouring his ships, a sense of unease gnawing at him. When engaging high-speed warships, mecha groups often first cripple the propulsion systems, leaving the powerless ships vulnerable to destruction. The Imperial fleet was clever, forming a spherical formation not only to utilize mutual support, but also to protect the vulnerable aft sections, preventing enemies from easily attacking the main propulsion systems. While striking the Imperial fleet, the Federation mecha also suffered heavy losses. Seeing the diminished number of Federation fighters, the Imperial fleet commander could not feel any joy. The recurring unease made him want to withdraw the fleet, but he could only think about it. Capturing Moon King star was imperative regardless of cost, otherwise the Imperial outer space fleet, having roamed Federation space for half a year, would have to retreat, due to supply shortages nullifying all gains, and giving the desperate Federation fleet a rare respite. If the Federation recovered, the war would become much harder. Enduring the Federation's fierce assault, the Imperial fleet finally neared Moon King star's low orbit and successfully crippled a Federation space carrier. Next, they would deploy mecha to the planet's surface, while warships provided fire support. Soon Moon King star would be theirs. The Imperial fleet methodically deployed mecha, while the sporadic anti-air fire on Moon King star gradually. The remaining Federation aerospace fighters no longer charged into the Imperial formation, but joined Moon King star's defense, attacking Imperial mecha attempting to land. Some unfortunate Imperial mecha pilots were hit before even detaching from the deployment device. The lucky ones were heavily damaged, while the unlucky ones exploded into fireballs, endangering the warships. In the midst of the fierce battle, two Federation destroyer fleets emerged from the asteroid belts, flanking Moon King Star, cutting off the Imperial fleet's retreat. Just as the 6,000 Imperial high-speed warships seemed doomed, two Imperial follow-up fleets arrived and immediately engaged, trapping the Federation destroyers in a pincer. Sensing danger, the Federation destroyers retreated. Soon over 10,000 destroyers from the two fleets vanished into the asteroid belt. The Empire did not pursue, as the priority was capturing Moon King Star. The arrival of the follow-up fleets relieved the high-speed fleet, but did little to help capture Moon King Star. The narrow corridor terrain prevented the Empire from deploying forces effectively. Facing stubborn resistance, the three Imperial fleets could only suppress Moon King Star while gradually deploying mecha in waves. The Federation destroyers hiding in the asteroid belt maneuvered perilously among the asteroids repositioned behind the Imperial fleet and again attacked their rear. Marshal, the enemy has surrounded our 6th, 9th, and 13th fleets. It seems the enemy was prepared. Should we withdraw all fleets and redeploy before attacking again? Tianxian watched the battle footage from the reconnaissance satellites of Moon King Star's region and cautiously suggested to the Imperial Outer Space Fleet Commander Marshal Francis Harley, whose face was grim. Three idiots. After a few days without fighting, they forgot how to wage war. Three fleets couldn't take a tiny Moon King Star in over 2 hours, and now they're surrounded. Tell them to hold. Order all fleets. Full speed ahead, target Moon King Star. Tianxian gasped upon hearing Harley order the main fleet forward. Marshal, this could be a Federation trap. Yes, but also a good chance to catch the Federation main fleet. But in such a narrow space, if the enemy uses planetary fortress cannons on us, the situation will be very unfavorable. I know, but the fortress cannons on Moon King Star can only fire twice at most. The losses from that, given our fleet size, are bearable. What if there's an accident? Fortune won't always favor the Federation. Pass the order, target the enemy destroyer fleet, fire at will. As they spoke, the main Imperial fleet entered effective main cannon range. At Marshal Francis Harley's command, the warships' main cannons unleashed massive beams of light, smashing into the blocking Federation destroyers. Don't rush, wait a little longer. Good now. Open all fortress cannon ports. All ports open. Aim at the main Imperial fleet. Target lock. Excellent. Prepare volley fire. The fortress cannons on Moon King Star, already charged, unleashed a devastating light upon the Imperial fleet crammed into the narrow space. Marshal Francis Harley's estimate of the fortress cannons' firing count was essentially correct, but he failed to consider the quantity. He assumed only 1 fortress cannon per planet, but the Federation had installed 6 on Moon King Star. The overwhelming energy swept through the corridor-like space, instantly engulfing countless Imperial ships. As the light faded and energy dissipated, surviving ships emerged, but they were crippled, unable to fight, and became obstacles for the remaining Imperial fleet. This single volley from Moon King Star's 6 fortress cannons destroyed nearly 10,000 Imperial ships of various types, with another 20,000 rendered combat ineffective. The Imperial Outer Space Fleet, initially numbering 110,000 ships, lost 30% of its strength in an instant. The only consolation was that some Federation ships unable to retreat were also caught in the blast. As chaos reigned in the Imperial fleet, the Federation ships that had been ambushing in the asteroid belt swarmed out, encircling the Imperial fleet. The Imperial fleet, which had sought to annihilate the Federation main force, now found itself the hunted. After 72 hours of hyperspace travel, the interstellar transport ship, specially arranged by the Prince, delivered me to the planet Druka, where the Katar Military Academy was located. At an altitude of 100,000 meters above the planet's surface, the transport ship docked with the Katar Military Academy shuttle. I stepped through the docking port into the shuttle's cabin. Welcome, Corporal Dugu. I am Sarah Ito, the Student Council President. On behalf of the entire school, I welcome you to our institution. On this brief journey, I will give you a concise overview of our school's glorious history. A person in military uniform appeared before me, greeting me warmly. The person before me was fair-skinned with regular features, a straight nose, and a square mouth, standing nearly 2 meters tall. He was quite handsome and debonair. But my mood wasn't good. I noticed his uniform lacked rank insignia, so I merely grunted in response and found a seat in the empty cabin, sitting down on my own. Meanwhile, on the transport ship that brought me, a messenger rushed into the captain's quarters. Report. Urgent order. Our ship must proceed immediately to the Otanli star system for assembly. Any reason given? The captain asked. No, but the communication room received an extremely faint distress signal. Very brief. Distress signal? Could you make out the content? No, only vaguely heard something like lawn and chi and ship. Lawn. Chi. Ship A. Could it be? Orders lock coordinates to Otanli star system, enter hyperspace, full speed ahead. The transport ship captain went to the bridge and issued the transfer order. As far as he knew, only 2 ships in the Imperial fleet had the characters Lawn Blue and Chi Wonder Marvel in their names. One was Blue Sky Wonder, and the other was Land's Dragon Knight. Both ships were currently in Marshal Francis Imperial Outer Space Attack Fleet, and Land's Dragon Knight was Marshal Francis Harley's flagship. Regardless of which ship it was, if they had indeed sent a distress signal, it could only mean one thing: the Imperial Outer Space Fleet was in dire straits. In the shuttle descending toward the Qatar Military Academy, the Student Council President Sarah Edo was tirelessly giving a brief introduction to Dugu Zhan about the Academy's long and glorious history. Finally reaching the conclusion, Sarah noticed that his audience seemed a bit off. Therefore, choosing to study at Qatar Academy is your wisest decision, Corporal Dugu. Corporal Dugu. Corporal Dugu. Ah, have we arrived? So fast. I woke from my slumber dazed. Sarah realized his long speech had been in vain and was dejected. Were you listening to me just now? Yes. You said Qatar Military Academy was founded in Imperial Year 1, the oldest military institution in the empire. Every emperor has studied here. Over 300 years since its establishment, it has produced millions of military personnel, including 89 marshals, 178,534 generals, and countless other officers, etc. I didn't say it wrong, did I? To avoid souring relations with the Student Council President, I pulled myself together and tried to recall what I had heard before dozing off, mindful of past experiences. You're something, kid. I know you're not telling the truth, but you're not lying either, since you did catch part of it. Fine, I won't hold it against you. We've arrived. Follow me. They'll take you to register, get your supplies, and then to your dorm. The shuttle came to a stop on the landing pad. I followed Sarah Edo down the shuttle. Sarah summoned a hovercar, and I got in. The hovercar sped through the Qatar Academy. Looking at the scenery, I almost thought I'd come to the wrong place. The campus was almost devoid of uniformed personnel, looking more like a city. The school's management seems looser than typical military academies, but that's only in the outer basic military education zone. In the core professional military training zone, it's much stricter, Sarah explained, noticing my confusion. So, they'll be trained in the professional military training zone? I asked, assuming. Sarah looked at me and smiled. No, all new students, regardless of rank, must first study in the outer basic military education zone. Only after passing all basic military assessments can they enter the professional training zone. Damn, what a hassle. The hovercar skirted a group of rowdy people and continued. Sarah muttered, "Hey, why are these guys let out so early? Could something have happened?" At Salao's signal, the flying car halted at the entrance of the Academy's General Affairs building. After paying the fare and stepping out, Saladuo led Dugu Zhan to the registration office. "Instructor Jie, what are you busy with? Could you help register this new student?" In a modest office, a military officer was busy organizing a filing cabinet. Hearing someone call him, he turned around and greeted us. Saladuo. Wait a moment, they'll be right with you. So this is the new arrival. Why only one? I thought there were supposed to be 2 batches of new students today. The officer closed the cabinet, walked to his desk, turned on the computer, and connected to the intercollegiate network. Another batch? I didn't know about that. I only received him. Let me check. Oh, that batch was cancelled temporarily. It seems something major has indeed happened. You are Dugu Zhan, right? Your files have been transferred from the military. Place your hand here. Either hand is fine. Yes, just like that. Dugu Zhan followed the instructions and placed his hand on a template. Soon a card emerged from the machine. Identity confirmed. Your tuition and fees have been prepaid for 5 years. However, if you fail to graduate and obtain an A-level license within 5 years according to the agreement between the school and your guarantor, you will be retained here until you achieve the required results. The costs during that period will be borne by you personally. If you complete your studies ahead of schedule, the school will refund the remaining fees. Keep this card safe. Don't lose it, it will be very useful. The officer handed over the card. Still reeling from the barrage of information, I mechanically accepted the card. Instructor Jie, has something happened at the academy? Saladuo took the opportunity to ask. You don't know? You were out picking up the new student. The academy suddenly announced a suspension of classes half an hour ago. The resumption date will be announced later. Suspended. Why the sudden suspension? Who knows? But from what I've heard, all field-grade officers have left, and all company-grade officers have been assembled at the professional military zone on standby. If you had arrived a little later, I would have been ordered to report to the professional military zone myself. Well, I have to go now, no time to chat. Leaving the registration office, Saladuo led me to the logistics department to collect a steel basin, a steel mess, tin, a set of toiletries, and a roll of bedding. Hey, wait, that'll be 576 yuan. Cash or card? As I turned to leave with my arms full of items, the logistics clerk called out to me. What? I thought the tuition covered everything. These are separate charges. They're not included in the tuition. I turned to look at Saladuo. Saladuo nodded with a hint of embarrassment. It's the academy's rule. I was dumbfounded. I don't have any money on me. No money on you. You're kidding. What about your savings? Surely you have some savings. I've never saved any money. The moment I said that, I saw Saladuo stumble and nearly fall. Good heavens. In such a highly civilized society, there's someone who has never saved money. What a fuss over nothing. To save money, you need to have money to begin with. When the villagers sent me off, I was penniless. My father always said if a young man needs money, he earns it himself. Before I left, he tossed me a few pieces of luggage. I never even opened them to see what was inside. Later, I joined the army, but apart from daily meals, I didn't receive a single cent. Your ID card? Give it to me. I'll take a look. Salatuo seemed to have an idea. I pulled out the newly issued card. No, not that. Your dog tag. Dog tag. What's that? Salatuo finally lost his patience and shouted, the thing hanging around your neck. Didn't they give you one when you enlisted? When I enlisted? I think there was something like that. Was it supposed to go around my neck? I thought it was a keychain. You can find it, probably hanging from my belt loop. I recalled receiving a small metal tag with a chain during enlistment, but I hadn't paid it any mind and tucked it into my waistband. You? Salatuo seemed to choke on his words, momentarily speechless. However, seeing that my hands were full, he came over and helped me retrieve the tag. Salatuo took the tag and inserted it into a card slot of the automated payment machine at the logistics department. Moments later, several lines of numbers appeared on the screen. A soldier's identification tag is issued to every recruit from the moment they enlist. Besides recording the recruit's name and basic information when connected to a terminal, it can also reveal the holder's unit rank and other details. Additionally, it serves as the credential for receiving military allowances. Wow, kid, you're loaded. And you said you had no money. Salatuo exclaimed, staring at the numbers. Loaded? No way. How much is there? Clutching my pile of belongings, I leaned in. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands. 500,000, 1,110. Once I had clearly read the balance displayed, I was so excited I nearly dropped all the items I was holding. Salatuo steadied me and asked, you didn't know you had this much money? The 500,000 might be a gift from my friend. I only found out today. And the extra 1,000 or so? That's your corporal's allowance. Shall I transfer the money for you? Yes. All right, now I'll take you to your dormitory. I've troubled you for so long. I'm really sorry. How about you just tell me my dorm number, and I'll find it myself. It struck me as odd that a chairman, even if it was the student council president, would have so much free time to accompany a new student everywhere. No, it's fine. For your safety, I'd better escort you personally. For my safety? What day? No, it's fine. For your safety, I'd better escort you personally. For my safety. The logistics department was not far from the student dormitory area. Salatuo quickly led Dugu Zhan to the foot of a 30-story building. Just as they arrived, Salatuo spotted a beautiful girl who seemed to have been waiting for some time. Welcome. A warm welcome. Why are you so late? I've been waiting here for ages. The girl's tone was like that of a lover who had been longing for her beloved and finally saw him after a painful wait. Enchanting and pitiful. Qianli, don't be silly. At the sight of the girl, Salatuo immediately tensed up and scolded her without any gentleness. At least that's how Dugu Zhan saw it. Such a lovely girl deserved to be cherished, yet someone was being so insensitive as to speak loudly. Amazing. Silly. I'm here with the best intentions to help you welcome your junior, and you don't appreciate it. That's fine as long as my junior understands my feelings. Isn't that right, junior? Qianli blinked her big watery eyes at Dugu Zhan. Yes. Let me introduce myself. I'm Qianli, the Life Department Committee member of the Academy. Welcome to our school. Follow me. I'll take you to your dorm. Here, let me help you with your things. Mr. Chairman, you can go back now. As she spoke, Qianli naturally placed her hand on the pile of items I was holding. From a distance, it looked like a beautiful girl was helping a fortunate little chubby guy carry his belongings. But the truth was painful. The moment her delicate hand touched the load, Dugu Zhan suddenly felt the items become much heavier. She was indeed helping, but making things worse. Hey, what do you mean by this? Salatuo's face flushed bright red. Whether from anger or embarrassment, it was hard to tell. I thought it was probably the former, but why was he so angry? Because of the girl in front of him. Why? However, at that moment, I had no time to ponder. I could only follow the beauty step by step up the dormitory stairs. Corporal Dugu, be careful. If you don't like that dormitory, I can arrange a different one for you. Salatuo wisely did not follow, but stood there shouting at me with unclear intentions. From the first to the 5th floor, I could still walk with my chest out and head high, carrying the heavy load up the stairs step by step. By the 6th to 10th floors, my head was drooping and my chest was caving in. Near the 20th floor, Qianli finally withdrew her hand. It had been extended for too long and was getting sore. How many more floors? I gasped for breath. Almost there. It was truly remarkable that a girl could climb 20 floors without even a flush on her face, though I had essentially pushed her up those 20 floors. Still, I felt deeply ashamed. 3 more floors later, I finally heard Qianli say, "We're here. This is the one." It was a dormitory near the stairs. 3009. Phew. Thank you, Miss Qianli. I hope to see you again. But how do I open this door? I stared at the door, which was so smooth it didn't even have a handle, and had no idea how to open it. Use your student card to swipe through that reader. Oh, the door seems unlocked. Just go straight in. Really? Miss Qianli, come in and rest for a while. Just a moment ago the door had been closed, but now a crack had appeared. A stifled laugh reached my ears. I looked around the corridor. It was empty with no one else. I must have misheard. I backed into the door using my back to push it open, while turning to invite Qianli. No, that's fine. Please go in. They'll come visit once you've settled in. Qianli hurriedly declined, waving both hands. It's no trouble at all, I really. Suddenly a mess tin full of water landed on my head, turning me into a drowned rat. A series of silvery giggles echoed from inside the dormitory. Silvery? I turned to look inside. Good heavens. What was going on? 5 girls in the dormitory were laughing together. Is this my dorm? I hurriedly stepped back into the corridor and asked Qianli. Yes, it is. What's wrong? Qianli's expression was somewhat unnatural. But the girls inside. Oh, them. They're your roommates. My roommates. Huh. That's not quite right. Could I switch to another dorm? A pie in the sky, I might accept, but a beautiful girl falling from the sky. For someone who knew his own charm all too well, that was impossible. You want to switch? You don't like this dorm? Like it? Yes, I like it. Oh no, I mean. Well, yes. How about this? If the academy can't arrange a switch, it'll just. As I spoke and backed away in my panic, I missed a step, lost my balance, and immediately tumbled down the stairs, scattering the items I was carrying all over the place. Qianli, who had been struggling to keep a straight face, finally burst out laughing.